Chapter 279, Washington Stew, S-Shield Headquarters. The American team stormed into the room, his face flushed with anger. He looked ready to slam his fist on the table. "You can only tell lies, can't you?" he demanded. Nick Fury, still leaning back in his boss chair, turned his head to gaze out the window, lost in thought. He seemed to be biting his tongue. "I'm not lying. Agent Romanov's mission is different from yours. Aren't you obligated to share information with me?" The American team pressed. "I don't have a mission to do anything," Fury began. "The hostages may all die, Nick," the American team interrupted. "So I sent the best soldiers ever to save them," Fury replied calmly. "Soldiers need to trust each other. The army relies on trust, not on people shooting at random," the American team argued. Fury stood up angrily. "Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. I don't want to assign tasks you don't want to do, and Agent Romanov has never refused a mission. You don't trust others, you trust the orange cat," the American team retorted. "The subordinates are doing their own thing. How do you expect me to lead the team to carry out the mission?" Captain America was still fuming, feeling betrayed by the secrecy. That's called doing their part, and no one leaks the secret because everyone only knows part of it. "At this point, your good friend Bucky did a good job," Fury said. Captain America frowned. "Bucky? Coulson is still the captain of the team, but most of the action still depends on Bucky. He is better than you. Captain, maybe you can gain experience from your good friend. Your way is now outdated. If you continue, there will be problems sooner or later," Fury warned. "Problems do arise that eventually split the Avengers apart." "Okay, sit down. How about Rumlow and the others?" Captain America asked, still frowning. "Rumlow? Just like you said, everyone performs their duties," Fury replied. "That's one of the side missions I sent you over. Close the office." With Fury's order, the entire office darkened. The windows were blocked, and any signal that might be detected was also blocked. "What do you want to say?" Captain America wondered. "From the time of the fallen King Kong incident, I realized that there was a problem with Rumlow. I watched the video of the battle over and over again. Rumlow and his party went to Starscream. Later, he asked Duke for the fallen King Kong's dead body. I believe you know it too," Fury explained. Captain America nodded. He was there at the time and admired Rumlow's courage. He dared to ask for what Duke wanted, and he was really not afraid of death. Even if Duke killed him, no one would avenge him. This is the audio intercepted by Hill. The time is exactly the same as when it was killed. Listen carefully. Fury took out his mobile phone and played an audio recording. "Damn, Alexander Pierce, you don't keep your word. I informed the world that Alexander Pierce is H." The audio stopped there. "We often say Hydra, but the pronunciation of the word should be Hydra. Starscream only shouted the word C and was exploded by a grenade from Clairvoyance Garrett." Captain America's brain seemed to short-circuit for a moment. His body felt electrified, and his eyes widened suddenly. "Hydra?" Fury seemed to heave a sigh of relief and slowly sat back in his chair. "The captain is really sharp, but it took me a long time to realize this problem. Unexpectedly, my former partner is actually a Hydra agent." Captain America felt his worldview shatter. "Alexander Pierce is Hydra? Doesn't that mean that the entire shield is compromised? But this is too coincidental. He had just discussed with Peggy and Bucky that Pierce might have a problem, and now Nick Fury explained it? Could it be that his living quarters are monitored? He was suspicious. Why? Because this is the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. If Alexander Pierce is a member of Hydra, isn't Fury afraid of being detected by the other party? Does this office closu really work? Is Nick Fury deliberately diverting his attention, misleading him? Others, a fake Alexander Pierce, or is Pierce really Hydra? Which of the two is Hydra, or both? Nick Fury has a problem. He decided to try again. "This is the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D., and you're here to tell me that Alexander Pierce is Hydra? Aren't you afraid of being eavesdropped?" Captain America asked. "If it is not safe here, then there is no safe place in this world. My mobile phone may be tapped." Nick Fury shrugged. "Don't worry. Since I realized this problem half a year ago, I converted this office. It is impossible for people outside to hear what we are talking about. To be honest, my own home is not as safe as here." This was not an exaggeration. Indeed, after the office was closed, all external detections failed. It had the highest level of protection. Not only external, but all internal monitoring would also be down. Even if there were surveillance cameras, recorders, etc. inside, they could not be used. I asked you to rescue the hostages because I wanted to see if there was anything unusual about Rumlow and the others. You know, Agent Sitwell was also on that ship, and he was Pierce's confidant, Nick Fury said. Captain America frowned. I also find it strange that Sitwell was there. His brain was working rapidly. Judging from the current situation, Nick Fury's trust level was still very high. Of course, the premise was that this audio was real. If it was true, then no matter how foolish Starscream might be, he would never cooperate with a former enemy. Although there were not many people from S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Battle of Los Angeles, he would not naively think that the other party must not know that Alexander Pierce is the direct supervisor of S.H.I.E.L.D. Although he was still frozen at the time, this did not prevent him from reading the information later. So, since Starscream might know, why did he come to cooperate with S.H.I.E.L.D.? Does Starscream really not know that Pierce is the boss of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Judging from Cybertron's technological level, it would be too simple to invade the Earth's database. In the Battle of Los Angeles, S.H.I.E.L.D. participated, which destroyed Megatron's action plan and severely damaged Starscream. The Decepticons invaded for the second time, but Starscream chose to cooperate with S.H.I.E.L.D.? There are too many problems here. Now that Starscream came quietly to cooperate with Alexander Pierce, then Pierce's obvious role is the front, and his hidden identity must be the villain. Not keeping promises, Captain America muttered. This clearly indicated that Pierce was disrespecting the agreement, being sloppy, and betraying a certain agreement made between them, right? And at the same time, Starscream attacked the Stark Industrial Building. A group of unknown forces attacked Karazhan. End of this chapter. Chapter 282, Insight Plan. Steve frowned, deep in thought. According to the information Bucky provided, Alexander Pierce indeed seemed suspicious. The assassination of Peggy indicated that S.H.I.E.L.D. might have been infiltrated by Hydra, and at a high level. Coupled with Nick Fury's audio and Rumlow's strange actions, it could be determined that Alexander Pierce was 100% Hydra. However, the premise was that the audio had to be real, but this couldn't be proven. There was also another theory that Nick Fury was setting up Alexander Pierce. After all, they were old comrades and knew each other well. Fury could easily mislead Alexander Pierce. Although Bucky said that the recovery of the Chitauri was facilitated by Alexander Pierce, who could prove that Nick Fury wasn't involved? The most important thing was the authenticity of the audio, and there was no way to prove it. Based on Fury's words alone, Steve couldn't easily draw conclusions. "You seem suspicious," Nick Fury observed. "I don't pass judgment lightly," Steve replied. "Well, that's the captain I know. It's this kind of prudence and keen insight that led you to investigate Rumlow. The reason I didn't tell you the truth is to let you see things from a different perspective." "Follow me," Nick Fury said, standing up and walking outside. The office door closed immediately. Captain America hesitated for a moment but followed. Once in the elevator, an intelligent recognition system activated. "Insight Plan Bay," it announced. "Captain Rogers does not have access to the Insight project." Captain America was puzzled. "Leapfrog authorization, Director Nicholas J. Fury," Nick Fury commanded. "Confirmed. Nicholas J." Captain America asked with a smile. "Yeah, in our line of work, we have to have several names. In the end, I don't even know which one is my real name," Nick Fury said. "But it doesn't matter. A name is just a code. I am who I am." "In the past, there was music playing in the elevator," Captain America remarked. "My grandpa worked as an elevator operator for 40 years, and he did a good job. Later, when the world changed, when he greeted people, they told him to cut the small talk." "My grandpa liked people, but he didn't trust them," Nick Fury said. Captain America laughed, sensing that Fury was hinting at something. Soon, they arrived at a massive underground military base beneath S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. It was even more impressive than the first time he saw the helicarrier. He chuckled, thinking that Banner would probably love it here. He liked to dismantle things everywhere. He hadn't expected such a huge base under S.H.I.E.L.D. If it got out of control, these armed forces could destroy a country. This is the Insight Project, Nick Fury explained, 3 generations ahead of the helicopter carrier, connected to the positioning satellite. Captain America suddenly understood. The satellite launched by the Lemuria Star? He asked, realizing it was the same ship where he had rescued the hostages. It seemed the information Agent Romanoff had retrieved was related to this. Once in the sky, there's no need to land. The new engine can continue suborbital flight. Fury continued. Did Stark design it? Captain America asked, recognizing the style of the equipment at the base. He looked at the old turbocharged engine and gave us some advice. These long-range precision weapons can destroy 1,000 enemies in 1 minute, Nick Fury said. It was a pity that Tony didn't foresee that the improvements he suggested would eventually include himself. Terrorists don't need to show up. Satellites can read their DNA, and we can eliminate many threats in the cradle, Fury added. Sure enough, like Stark, they both wanted to build a global ecological defense system. One was internal, the other external. Both attempts had failed. It seemed like a bright future, but Captain America instinctively recognized the problem. People who have done bad things should be punished, right? He asked. It seems that the future Nick Fury visions is a good one, a world without terrorists. But this is precisely what makes Chacha most apprehensive. The most important concern is that such a powerful weapon is in the hands of people. Can you imagine where they might aim it? You claim that a terrorist can be eliminated in minutes, but does that make them a terrorist? Even if they are, can your artillery fire have a diameter of just 1 micron? When you target terrorist forces, will you also kill innocent people? When such a plan is fully realized, it will instill true fear in humanity. Humans are not accustomed to being dominated. They yearn for freedom and want to embrace it. Just like in World War II, when fighting Hydra, the Red Skull wanted to force people to give up their freedom. But the final result? No matter how powerful the Red Skull was, no matter how advanced his weapons were, he was ultimately defeated. In the future timeline, the division of the Avengers is also due to freedom. If they are dominated, they will lose their judgment. This dominance, this fear, is often what leads to the downfall of villains. And now, S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing the same things. Isn't it similar to what the Red Skull did during World War II? He increasingly affirmed Peggy's judgment that S.H.I.E.L.D. might have truly changed. Is there any difference between this Insight Project and the Red Skull's Valkyrie Project? We can't wait for someone to do something bad, Nick Fury said. Who are we? Captain America questioned. Nick Fury glanced at Captain America, looked up at the giant aircraft carrier, and said, After the Chicago Pigeon and New York incidents, I convinced the Security Council that we need quantum-level sophisticated threat analysis. This time we are far ahead. The idea is good, but the implementation has significant problems. Point a gun at everyone. Do you call this protection? Captain America sneered. I've read the documents of the Strategic Science Corps, the Greatest Generation. Have you ever done shameful things? Nick Fury asked. Yes, we compromised. Sometimes we can't sleep because of it, but we did it for the freedom of the people. But this is not freedom. It is fear, Captain America said, pointing to the giant aircraft carrier around them. S.H.I.E.L.D. accepts the world as it is, rather than changing it with its own will. It's a little too late for you to do this now, isn't it? Captain America shook his head. S.H.I.E.L.D. is just an inconspicuous past among all kinds of forces. It is not the nanny of the world. Do you know how Duke does it? Duke? Nick Fury frowned. He has a world observation eye, which can simultaneously record the events happening on Earth and respond to them in stages. He only takes action against significant threats, like the battles between New York and the Chicago Pigeons. As for the others, he does not intervene. He keeps the Earth in a perpetually stable state. End of this chapter. Chapter 283, Fury's Attack. In the end, there was no agreement, and they parted ways unhappily. The U.S. team rode his small motorcycle away from the S.H.I.E.L.D. base, while Nick Fury returned to his office. How did it go? Peggy Carter called and asked. That depends on whether I've been arrested, Steve replied. What do you mean? Peggy Carter was slightly taken aback. Arrested? Both Fury and Pierce have issues, but I can't tell right now who exactly has the problem, or maybe both of them do, Steve explained. Understood. Be careful and come back as soon as possible. Peggy Carter said. All right, I'll hang up now. At the Security Council headquarters, Alexander Pierce was furious. You said Fury took Rogers to the Insight Project base? Damn it! Pierce slammed the table in anger. Our plan is going to be leaked. Implement Plan B immediately. Wait, is Plan B ready? Be prepared to act on my instructions at any time. Yes, boss, came the reply. After ending the call, Alexander Pierce let out a long breath. Fury, are you going to the end of the road by yourself? After the fallen King Kong incident, Fury had come to him. At that time, Pierce hadn't realized that Fury was actually suspicious of him. He had only thought that Fury was unhappy with Rumlow following his orders. But then, Fury's various strange behaviors made him suspicious. Fury had even completely remodeled his office, indicating a crack in their trust and the birth of doubt. Pierce still didn't believe that Fury was aware of his true identity, but today, Fury met Steve in secret and took him to the Insight Project base. This made Pierce suspicious and determined to eliminate the threat. However, he hesitated. After all, Fury was a partner who had fought alongside him for many years, a brother who had survived countless battles. He decided to give Fury another chance. Meanwhile, back in his office, Nick Fury realized something was wrong. Close the office, he ordered. Open the Lemurian satellite launch file. Fury was puzzled. I'm the director. Why am I being denied access? Something is definitely wrong. Run decryption, he commanded. What? Fury was shocked. Leapfrog authorization, Director Nicholas J. Fury. Authorization failed. All files are sealed. Whose order? Fury demanded. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Nick Fury immediately rushed to the Security Council floor. I'm here to ask for your help. I hope you can organize a vote. The Insight plan needs to be postponed, Fury said urgently. You're not asking for my help. This requires a long hearing by the subcommittee, Pierce replied, sensing that something was amiss. What had Fury heard from Rogers, or what had Rogers heard from Fury? Maybe there's nothing wrong, but I have to make sure everything is all right, Fury insisted. And if there is a problem? Pierce asked. Then we should all be thankful that we didn't send the aircraft carrier into the sky, Fury retorted. Okay, Alexander Pierce nodded. But you have to let Iron Man attend my niece's birthday party. Thank you, Nick Fury said, frowning as he turned to leave. Could it be that the old man wasn't the Hydra the captain had guessed? Still, something wasn't quite right. He realized that a crisis was approaching him. As a veteran of many battles, he had survived countless conflicts due to his keen sense of impending danger. Although he couldn't pinpoint where the crisis was coming from, he could basically judge that it was related to Alexander Pierce. Watching the old man walk into the elevator and disappear, Alexander Pierce shook his head and dialed the phone. Plan B is implemented, he ordered. Yes, boss, came the reply. Turning off the phone, Pierce stared at it in a daze. Don't blame me, my old friend. I will always remember you. At this time, Nick Fury was sitting in his Chevrolet Suburban, preparing to head to safety. As an experienced investigator, he understood the gravity of the situation. The truth of the 3 caves of the cunning rabbit. Although you don't know where the danger will come from, you must always protect your own safety. Start the communication encryption program. Connect to security line 0405. Confirm. I'm Hill. I need you to come to Huasheng immediately. The situation is serious. I'll be there in 4 hours. I'll give you 3 hours. Over. At this moment, the vehicle arrived at an intersection and stopped slowly at the red light. A police car pulled up to his right. Initially, he didn't think much of it. Encountering a police car while driving wasn't unusual. However, what was strange was that the 2 police officers in the car were staring at him intently. Moreover, both of them had expressionless faces. This made him instantly alert. Do you want to check my ID? He muttered to himself. The red light turned green, and he was about to start the vehicle. Nick Fury suddenly glanced at the avenues on the left and right sides and noticed congressional police cars not far away. Although he couldn't see them clearly, he was certain that the white fronts of the cars belonged to congressional police. Encountering 1 police car on the road wasn't surprising, but encountering 3 at this moment was highly unusual. Something was very wrong. Are there Capitol Police deployed nearby? He asked through his communication device. There is no Capitol Police deployed nearby. Damn, he cursed. He noticed another police car rushing out from behind. It was clear that once he crossed the intersection, the flanking vehicles would rush towards him at super high speed. At that point, he would be trapped, unable to move, and at their mercy. The police in the other cars also realized something was wrong. He seems to have spotted us. It's not just a suspicion. He's already noticed. Turn around and kill. Nick Fury made up his mind. He slammed on the accelerator, and the vehicle sped through the intersection at super high speed. Before the police car on the left could react, his Chevrolet Suburban crashed into the police car in front like a roaring bull. Boom! The police car was overturned. The police car on the left slowed down slightly, brushing past the tail of the Chevrolet Suburban and almost colliding with the police car on the right. Just as I thought, Nick Fury sneered. The captain really guessed it? They want my life? Heh! The Chevrolet Suburban swerved, the windows slid down, and the machine gun blazed, sweeping toward the 4 police cars behind it. In an instant, the 4 police cars were riddled with bullets. However, the Chevrolet Suburban was hit hard and crashed into a utility pole, struck by a black, armed, explosion-proof police car. End of this chapter. Chapter 284. The boss is crazy. Under the violent impact, Nick Fury's forearm bone was instantly fractured. Damn, he cursed. The angle at which the explosion-proof car hit was very tricky, making it impossible for him to turn the machine gun to attack. Turn on airplane mode, he commanded. Airplane mode is turning on. The Chevrolet Suburban turned around and drove crazily towards a road with less traffic. Of course, it didn't need a run-up to turn on flight mode, but it had to avoid the explosion-proof vehicles of the enemies behind. Otherwise, the enemy would blow out the tires before the car could fly. For the Chevrolet Suburban to fly, it needed its tires for power, similar to Coulson's girlfriend. As the explosion-proof vehicle saw the target running away, it immediately stepped on the accelerator and chased after it, but it was always a step slower, falling farther and farther behind. When it was far enough away, the Chevrolet Suburban suddenly stopped. The 4 wheels transformed into the chassis. Under the power injection, the vehicle slowly lifted into the air and quickly flew away into the distance. The explosion-proof vehicles below were dumbfounded. Nima, can it still do this? One of the policemen exclaimed. What do we do? Another asked quickly, pulling out a rocket launcher and aiming at the Chevrolet Suburban flying away in the sky. With a boom, he fired a single shot. Fake! Nick Fury saw the rocket trailing behind him. He turned the steering wheel sharply, causing the Chevrolet to lurch to the right. Due to his fractured forearm, the steering wheel turned a little too slowly, resulting in the rear left tire being blown off. The chassis of the car exploded instantly, and oil began to leak rapidly. Damn it! The Chevrolet veered off course and crashed towards a nearby building. Chase! After firing the bazooka, the policeman quickly jumped into the car and accelerated towards the location where the Chevrolet had fallen. 5 minutes later, damn it, he's gone. What do we do? Report to the boss. You guys search the entire building. I don't believe he can jump to the opposite building like the Hulk. He must still be in this building. Check closely and let the brothers below stay alert. Understood. Go, of course. Nick Fury was no longer in that building. From the very beginning, he had planned to crash the car on the boulevard. If it fell on the building, it might collapse the roof, or the explosion could cause the building to collapse. But in the end, he chose to make an emergency landing on the roof. This way, the pursuers would have to climb the stairs to find him, tiring them out first. He first gave himself a painkiller, and the pain in his forearm disappeared instantly, though he was still unable to move it. With only one arm, Nick Fury made an emergency landing on the top of the building. There was no explosion, no collapse. Instead of going down the corridor or finding a family to threaten for shelter, he did something unexpected. He jumped to the opposite building. 15 meters apart, this was an impossible feat unless he had Hulk-like jumping power. He didn't, but he had technology. He launched a rope, firmly grasping the roof of the opposite building. Then, with one arm, he swung towards the glass window of the opposite building. Finally, with both legs together, he successfully smashed the glass and crashed into the corridor. Although his legs were cut by glass and his body was wounded by shards, he managed to escape the pursuit of Hydra. He had already confirmed that the pursuers were Hydra, sent by the old guy Alexander Pierce, just because of his suggestion to suspend the Insight plan. Truly ruthless. Despite their efforts, the pursuers failed to find any trace of Nick Fury in the building. But the Hydra agents staying upstairs noticed the problem and pointed to the building in the distance. "Don't look for him here. He must have escaped," one of them said. The people on top of the building noticed that the glass windows in the opposite building were shattered and a steel rope dangled from top to bottom. It seemed to mock their incompetence. "Go! Hurry over there," one of them shouted. "Don't bother. It's been so long. They've already escaped," another replied. It had been 10 minutes. Too late. Alexander Pierce, who received the call, was furious. He threw his phone to the ground in a fit of rage. "Trash! What a bunch of trash! You can't even kill a one-eyed guy! Useless!" Nick Fury was one-eyed, and his blind spot had been a strategic disadvantage. Yet the plan had still failed. Damn it! Was Nick Fury that cunning, or had he already suspected something and been on guard? He truly lived up to his nickname, Foxtrot. Everything was falling apart, but Nick Fury wasn't the most critical issue. The most pressing concern was Duke and the X-Men Academy. They were all harmless, but Duke was the real trouble. With Duke around, Pierce had to tread carefully. One wrong move, and he could lose everything. Pierce feared that Duke had already caught on to his plans. The plan had to be executed immediately. There was no turning back. Gritting his teeth, Alexander Pierce shouted, "Order the aircraft carrier to launch immediately. We have no way out. We must put all our eggs in one basket." "Yes, boss," Sitwell responded, turning to leave. However, Sitwell was not entirely obedient. He wasn't stupid. He sensed the looming crisis. Karazhan had even destroyed the Chitauri mothership in outer space. The railgun's diameter was nearly 100 meters. If the bombardment continued, their 3 aircraft carriers wouldn't stand a chance. A smart person would have long wanted to escape. To hell with Hydra and their mission. There was no joy in being alive under such circumstances. Sitwell had followed Alexander Pierce, not out of loyalty to Hydra, but because he wanted power. He had only been with Hydra for a few years, not even 10, and hadn't been completely brainwashed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have informed Captain America. As long as the boss chose to hide, Sitwell would keep running errands for him. But now, the boss was crazy, wanting to forcibly order the aircraft carrier to take off, completely exposing himself. Sitwell didn't want to die. It was clear now that if he continued to follow the boss, he would be finished. So, he pulled out his phone and dialed Captain America's number. "Agent Sitwell?" Captain America was on his way out of Washington when he suddenly received the call and was a little taken aback. According to Nick Fury, Sitwell was Pierce's henchman and must be Hydra. However, it wasn't yet certain. "Captain, the attack on Nick Fury was orchestrated by Minister Pierce," Agent Sitwell whispered. The captain suddenly stopped the car, frowning. "What did you say?" "I said, Director Fury was attacked not long ago, but fortunately he escaped the pursuers and his life should not be in danger for the time being. But that's not the key issue. Pierce has gone mad, and he has ordered 3 aircraft carriers to lift off." End of this chapter. Chapter 285, I Want to Live. "Agent Sitwell, do you know what you're talking about?" Steve was shocked. Was this self-reporting? If Nick Fury was really being hunted down, it meant that the other party was a positive character. In contrast, Alexander Pierce was indeed a villain, a Hydra. Then, Agent Sitwell was the villain's henchman. Wasn't this reporting himself? "It's true. I guarantee with my life that what I said is true." Steve shook his head. "Sorry, you can't convince me. As far as I know, you have a close relationship with Alexander Pierce. To be precise, you should be his confidant. If Alexander Pierce is really hunting down Nick Fury, you shouldn't be too late, right? Why are you telling me now?" Agent Sitwell was stunned. He never thought that the captain knew about him. "Because he is crazy." Do you know who is stored in the satellite database? There is Tony Stark, there is Bruce, Wayne. Yes. In short, many people are in his plan. Even you are on his elimination target. Steve finally became cautious. "Why should I trust you? In this case, you should have participated in the Insight project long ago. Why did you tell me at the last moment? Who are you, Hydra? Is it? Sitwell's heart skipped a beat. The captain actually knew about it a long time ago? Although it seemed to be a test, he should already know something. Originally, Sitwell thought about betraying Alexander Pierce directly and then hiding himself. At worst, he would be expelled. A little better treatment could also redeem his credit. But now, it seemed that there was really no way out. Yes, I am Hydra. The U.S. team smiled. Then I'm even more curious. Why did you betray him? Because I want to live. That's a good reason. Alexander Pierce is already crazy. He thinks that 3 aircraft carriers can control the world. How is that possible? Karazhan, who is staying in New York, can't be ignored. Cybertron's mechs have been dismantled cleanly. Even if he got some technological weapons from Cybertron, compared with the original owner, he's still a little brother, Sitwell said in a low voice. Captain America frowned. He seemed to know about Alexander Pierce's deal with Starscream. You got it from Starscream, right? Sitwell was shocked again, but there was nothing to be surprised about. Yes. Then, the attack on Karazhan was done by Alexander Pierce? Correct. Sitwell nodded again. He knew he had to offer something, otherwise the captain wouldn't trust him. I like power, that's why I fawned over him, but I really didn't expect Alexander Pierce to be the boss of Hydra. I got stuck in it a little bit, and when I realized it, I had no choice but to join. Because I want to live. If I didn't join, I would die. After I joined, I didn't think that Hydra could really control the world. Mutants are everywhere, so what if our technology is stronger? Until Karazhan appeared again and shocked the world. It was '07. Duke woke up and beat Superman. At that time, I decided to hang on. As long as Pierce did not expose, I would continue to pursue my career, and I might be promoted to a higher position in the future. But I really didn't expect him to be crazy. Dare to openly kill Director Fury in Washington. Isn't that exposed? And he is going to launch the aircraft carrier. If I really want to follow him, I can't continue to speculate and drill down. Steve understood. So, you betrayed him. The feeling was that Duke scared him. He understood the humble psychology of such a small person very well. As long as Alexander Pierce did not reveal Hydra's identity, then Sitwell could flatter all the way, follow and climb up, and firmly hold power in his hands. Nick Fury was old and would step down one day. Sitwell might not be promoted, but it was not difficult to become a high-level agent. It was not impossible to even occupy an important seat in the Security Council and finally become a minister after seniority. But what he didn't expect was that Alexander Pierce decided to put all his eggs in one basket, in one basket, which made him panic. This was the scene of rebellion. Correct, Sitwell exclaimed. I betrayed you, and I'm proud of it. I don't feel wronged at all. Is it wrong to want to live? Captain, I'm about to reach the base. I can't stop the aircraft carrier from taking off. I'll give you an hour at most. I need protection. I don't want to die. I can make up for it. I know many branches and leaders of Hydra. I can help you. Just give me my freedom, Sitwell begged. He had no other options. He could only gain freedom in exchange, not just survival. There are many ways to live. If you stay in prison for the rest of your life, you are still alive. Don't try to play games with words. It has to be said that Sitwell is very smart when it comes to these little calculations. I can promise you, but I need you to help me prove that Alexander Pierce is Hydra, Steve said. The other addresses of Hydra, I'm afraid Duke has already recorded them, so why do you need them? Sitwell's face suddenly changed. You want me to expose them? Impossible. I can't do it. I said I want to live, but you want me to die? Do you know how many people there are in Hydra? I don't want them hunting and killing me day and night. I can only tell you the location of the other Hydra bases in secret in exchange for my freedom and life. Do you think you have the conditions to resist? Captain, although I follow Minister Alexander Pierce, I am just a minor figure in S.H.I.E.L.D. Who will believe what I say? But you, Captain, what you say, they will believe it, because you are Captain America. Sitwell's breathing became more and more rapid as they neared the base. Okay, I promise to protect your life, but within this hour, whether you can survive is up to you. After finishing speaking, Captain America hung up the phone. He thought about it, and what Sitwell said was true. Even if Sitwell came forward and identified Alexander Pierce as the leader of Hydra, who would believe it? That guy is indeed a minor figure, not very credible. And he is different. He is Captain America. Steve turned the motorcycle around and headed towards the S-Shield base again, but not in a straight line. He took a detour. Bucky, are you in New York? Can you make it to Washington within an hour? Our brothers are going to fight side by side again. What? How do you know I'm cooking in Washington? Bucky was a little taken aback. You are? Ah, I'm about to hand over the task. By the way, Director Fury will be by my side when he is attacked. Captain America was stunned for a moment. Where are you? Correct. End of this chapter. Chapter 286. Widow's sister can still wear a bikini. Correct. Captain America shouted, Why are you there? What happened? Send me the coordinates, and I will rush there immediately. Ding, you have received a message. 5 minutes later, Captain America already knew the situation. Bucky had just returned to Washington, ready to report for a mission. Before he reached his destination, he saw a car accident on the street from a distance. Initially, he thought it was just the police besieging some gangsters, but then he saw Nick Fury shooting with a submachine gun. This was serious. He hadn't even handed in his mission report yet, and now something had happened to his immediate boss. His instincts told him something was very wrong. So he rushed in. Who would have thought that Nick Fury would soon be flying through the air in a Chevrolet, only to be bombarded from behind? Bucky ignored the police, who he knew were secretly killing people, turned the head of his Dodge Tomahawk, and chased the Chevrolet down other avenues. He arrived at the building where the Chevrolet had crashed and saw Nick Fury jumping into the opposite building with a steel cable. Bucky rushed in, picked up Nick Fury, and drove to a secret hideout on his Dodge Tomahawk at lightning speed. They were both startled when they met. Bucky thought Nick Fury looked miserable, but Fury was initially suspicious of Bucky. However, he quickly realized Bucky was a friend of Captain America and couldn't be Hydra. Little did he know, in an alternate Marvel universe, it was Bucky who nearly sent him to hell. When Captain America arrived, he also met Maria Hill, who had just arrived. By now, he didn't doubt much anymore. Unless Nick Fury was directing and acting, he believed Bucky wouldn't deceive him. The street battles had been quite brutal, and if you weren't careful, you could easily get killed. Now you trust me. Ahem, Nick Fury said, wincing from his injuries. Although his injuries were lighter than in the original plot, his forearm was fractured and bandaged. Despite being tightly wrapped like a mummy, most of his wounds were flesh and blood injuries. Steve nodded without speaking, still having some reservations. Trust? What happened in my absence? Bucky wondered. It doesn't matter. In an hour, the aircraft carrier will take off, Captain America said, looking at his watch. To be precise, we have 5 minutes and 10 seconds left. Agent Sitwell bought us an hour, but whether we can hold out is another matter. Nick Fury raised his head, slowly, frowning. Sitwell? Why are you talking to him? He spoke to me himself and said he wanted to live, Captain America explained. Nick Fury understood. From the time he first joined S.H.I.E.L.D., I knew he was a man who was good at making money. In the current situation, he chose to betray Pierce. I'm not surprised at all. Still, he deserves to be killed. Although Pierce had betrayed him, they had always fought together. Even though the other party may not have regarded him as a partner from the beginning, Nick Fury was still very angry about the betrayal. I promised to save his life, Captain America said. Why? Nick Fury asked. Because he knows where the other Hydra members are hiding, which is what we need most right now, Captain America replied. Okay, Nick Fury conceded, lying back down. He shouldn't move for the time being. Indeed, if they wanted to clean up the remaining forces of Hydra, they really needed someone like Sitwell. We only have less than 5 minutes. Let's discuss how to act, Bucky said, feeling a surge of passion. He hadn't felt this excited since World War II, when he and Steve had infiltrated the Red Skull's lair and destroyed all the bases. Now, he was once again teaming up with Steve to break into the S.H.I.E.L.D. building base. It was a familiar feeling, a familiar taste. At that moment, a yawn sounded from the side, and a portal opened, revealing Duke lying on a bed, rubbing his eyes. The key detail was that he was shirtless, providing a rather unexpected visual. The atmosphere was quite tense. Maria Hill took a sip of her drink and looked at Duke with great interest. "He has a good figure," she remarked. Duke rolled his eyes and replied lazily, "Then why did you say bah? Don't tell me you haven't noticed. I've heard it all." He then covered himself with a quilt. "By the way, do you need my help? I can offer my assistance." Steve frowned. "Are you watching us all the time? Are you sick or something?" Nick Fury, who had been silent, rolled his eyes. "You just said a while ago that Duke did a good job. Why the sudden change of heart? You're contradicting yourself." Duke shrugged. "Of course, I'm always monitoring the disasters happening on Earth. Coincidentally, I monitored you. If you need help, just say so. If not, I'll go back to sleep. It's just a little Hydra. Let's see what they're up to." Captain America shook his head. "No, this matter needs to be resolved by ourselves." "Okay, I'll send you guys," Duke said, closing the portal. Just as everyone was wondering what he meant, 2 portals lit up in the room and 2 figures were thrown in. One was Peggy Carter, and the other was Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. "You can handle your own business. I admire you. Someone sent them to you. You're welcome." Duke closed the door and went back to sleep. Steve was so angry he wanted to curse. "Peggy, why are you here?" I should be asking you." Peggy Carter was confused. Then she saw Fury on the bed and immediately understood. "Are you seriously injured?" "It's just a flesh wound, nothing serious," Nick Fury said, feeling a bit embarrassed. This was his old boss, and he didn't know how to address her now that she was no longer with S.H.I.E.L.D. "Fury, are you hurt that badly?" Black Widow stepped forward, looking shocked. "What happened?" Nick Fury had just been assassinated, and the information hadn't spread yet, so Black Widow was unaware of the situation in New York. Hydra has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D., and Alexander Pierce is the leader of Hydra, Captain America explained. Since Black Widow was teleported by Duke, it meant she was trustworthy. "What did you say?" Black Widow's eyes widened in disbelief. "In Karajan," Duke smirked. "Sister Widow should be able to wear a bikini now, right?" In the original plot 5 years ago, the Widow was hit in the stomach by Bucky during a mission. Because it was an old-fashioned bullet with no rifling, it left a scar, preventing her from wearing a bikini. But now, with Bucky rescued by Duke, it meant the Widow could still wear bikinis. End of this chapter. Chapter 287. Then. Isn't Howard Stark the father? Stay tuned and keep listening. Duke didn't care about the Washington conflict anymore. Let it blow up, let it blow up, let it blow up. It had nothing to do with him, and he wasn't an American. He notified Tony and asked him to rush over, so he didn't care. The war in Washington would end in victory. "What? You said the turbine device I helped design is targeting me?" Tony Stark asked, bewildered. "Okay, let's go there. S.H.I.E.L.D. is just an episode, and I won't be involved," Duke said. After speaking, he opened a portal and sent Tony to Washington. The battle there had already begun. "They didn't wait for me?" Tony Stark shook his head and soared into the sky. Tony was a very responsible person. Knowing that he was an accomplice unintentionally, he was very angry and felt it was also his responsibility. "Tony?" Just after taking down a row of soldiers, Steve noticed a flying figure not far away. "Hey, Captain, what's for dinner later?" Tony replied with a smile as he blasted away several chasing planes. "Ah, pizza? I guess it will be busy later," Steve said. "Then pizza." Tony smiled and flew to the other side, asking while flying, "By the way, what happened here?" "Didn't Duke tell you?" Captain America asked while rushing downstairs. "No, he only told me that the turbine device I designed finally locked the muzzle on me. It really made me angry. I decided to clean the portal myself," Tony Stark replied. "Then I will tell you later. In short, this is the enemy." "All of them?" "All of them." "Okay. Hi, Tony? Team leader? Go to the top aircraft carrier. Agent Romanov is there, and I'm worried she won't be able to control it," Steve said. "Hey, Captain, are you so unconfident in me?" Black Widow's joking voice came through the communication, accompanied by some ha-ha-ha attacks. "But, I do. Maybe I need some support." "Hold on, Agent Romanov. I'm coming." Tony turned around and sprinted upwards. "Ha-ha-ha, Steve, you lost. I've already replaced the module." Bucky's laughter came through the communication. "Then, keep it up." Captain America got up and took a breath. "I'm still close." He hadn't paid attention just now and was kicked by a group of soldiers, falling to the ground. "Bucky, there is a pair of soldiers rushing towards you. I know 7 of them," Maria Hill said. Ah, are you really taking care of me? Bucky smiled, and with the red dragon arms in front of him, he rushed towards the entrance. The red dragon armor was so hard that bullets couldn't pierce it at all. A single claw could tear apart a heavily armed leader, making it invincible in attack and defense. Tony got in from below and knocked a few unlucky soldiers into the air. The unlucky guys fell into the hole and fell. Ah, sorry. By the way, with a few small tracking bombs, the bad luck of besieging the Black Widow was blasted to pieces. It doesn't feel difficult, Miss Romanoff. You need to practice. Tony glanced at the bottom of the Black Widow, smiling maliciously. Her stance was a little loose. Black Widow glared back, stood up rubbing her waist, and finished replacing the module. Take off that armor, and I can easily KO you. You should be more polite to the elderly, Tony Stark replied. Although he also had some fighting skills, he was not a professional agent after all, and he was indeed middle-aged. If he fought twice, he would definitely lose. There was no suspense about it. Maria Hill's voice came through the communication. A and C have been replaced, Captain. Your side is left. I still need some time here, Steve said. Can you still do it? Bucky gloated. I met Rumlow and the others. Then you have to ask for blessings. Bucky smiled. He knew the strength of Rumlow and others. They were not bad. One-on-one, Steve could easily knock out the opponent, but this was against a commando. And now time was tight. The 3 modules had to be replaced immediately. Otherwise, the helicopter carrier could still shoot crossfire. No, Tony. Stark looked puzzled. No one has explained it to me until now. The Black Widow responded. The modules of the 3 aircraft carriers must all be resolved before the shooting can be stopped. So, there's only one left? Tony asked. Yes, she confirmed. And after the switch? He inquired. We let them attack each other in the sky, Black Widow replied. That's it? Tony was a bit surprised. These are all good things, so why don't you? We don't have much time. We have other things to do, she explained. Okay, Tony conceded. The plan was for Captain America, Bucky, and Black Widow to each take control of a helicopter carrier, replace the modules, and defend them. Maria Hill was in the Intrusion Command Center, monitoring the enemy's movements. Meanwhile, Peggy Carter had infiltrated the base camp, preparing to take down Alexander Pierce. The original plan was to control the 3 helicopter carriers, as they were valuable assets. However, due to insufficient manpower, it was nearly impossible to secure them all. The dilemma was whether to control and imprison the hundreds of brainwashed Hydra agents. Could they be trusted to change their ways if imprisoned? So, they decided to take a more drastic approach. After controlling the 3 aircraft carriers, they would order an automatic attack to eliminate the Hydra agents, severely weakening Hydra's power. Cleaning up Hydra within S.H.I.E.L.D. was nearly impossible, even with Agent Sitwell's help, as he couldn't reach all the Hydra operatives. The plan was to expose S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra's connection on the internet, then rebuild the Avengers headquarters, making S.H.I.E.L.D. a thing of the past. This radical plan caused Nick Fury some heartache. It wasn't about losing power, it was about seeing the organization he had worked for half a century crumble into history. Despite his reservations, Fury couldn't stop the plan. Peggy Carter, his old boss and one of the 3 veterans of S.H.I.E.L.D., had agreed to the destruction. Colonel Phillips had passed away years ago, so his vote wasn't needed. With 66.6% agreement, the decision was made. Even if Nick Fury was uncomfortable, he was just the nanny of S.H.I.E.L.D., while Peggy Carter was the real mother. If she was willing to destroy her own creation, who was he to argue? On the other side, Captain America was already facing off against the commandos, and the battle was about to begin. Rumlow, Captain America called out. Captain, Rumlow responded. You can still surrender. You know you won't win, Captain America urged. We're on different sides, Rumlow replied, resolute. End of this chapter. Chapter 288, True and False. April O'Neil, Captain America, shook his head. It's a pity. You are very capable soldiers. With those words, Steve's eyes sharpened, and he charged into the team with his shield. Do you need my help, Captain? Tony Stark asked. I can handle it, Steve replied. Tony smirked. I'm not your team member. He then jumped from the broken section at the bottom. Meanwhile, in the S.H.I.E.L.D. building, Mr. Carter, it's really unexpected. I didn't think we would meet under these circumstances, Alexander Pierce said, wiping the corner of his mouth and shaking his head. You brought me into this organization back then. It wasn't me, it was Dr. Zola, Peggy Carter corrected. Yes, it was him, Alexander Pierce acknowledged with a smile. You don't really intend to terminate the agreement and publish all the secrets online, do you? Including Hydra's secrets? And S-Child S, Peggy added. Once you do this, your past will be revealed to the world. Chief Carter, this is the S-Shield you personally helped build. Do you really have the heart to destroy it like this? It is your child. Carter smiled. My child has gone astray and can't come back. As a mother, I would rather seek justice, even if it means killing my own. You want them to see your true colors? Alexander Pierce laughed. What about you? Carter's mouth curved playfully. Suddenly, a beep sounded, and Carter froze. You have left S-Shield and are no longer the chief executive officer. After you left, all your administrative capabilities were eliminated. You can't do it, Alexander Pierce sneered. Really? Carter retorted, entering a series of complicated codes. Alexander Pierce sensed something was wrong and frowned. What is this? This is the power of the highest executive elder, a hidden input port in the background. The three elders who created S-Shield, Colonel Phillips, Howard, and I, all had this order to restart or destroy. It seems you didn't eliminate it, Carter explained. There is a story about a cat and a tiger in faraway China. The tiger worships the cat as a teacher, but the cat knows the tiger is not sincere and will kill him once he learns everything. So the cat retains the ability to climb trees. When the tiger learns everything, he attacks the cat, but the cat climbs up the tree, and the tiger is left sighing in vain. Alexander Pierce interjected, Tigers can climb trees. That's not important. What's important is that we didn't give this port to you, Carter continued. Unlocking requires an executive order and 2 A-level personnel. I'm sorry, my little brother. The 3 elders are transcendent A-grade personnel and have the ability to act independently. As she spoke, she scanned her fingerprints and entered a series of complicated instructions. A notification sounded. Encryption and unlocking, non-disclosure agreement canceled. Immediately, all confidential information of S-Shield was leaked on the internet. The progress bar reached 100%. Alexander Pierce let out his last breath, shook his head, and said, Okay, everything is over, and a new journey has begun. At this time, on the streets of New York, a female reporter was filming an advertisement. 5 for 1, she counted down. Hello everyone, I'm April O'Neil from Channel 6, and I'm in beautiful New York City. It's the first day of spring, and you know what that means? It's time to shed the winter fat. Today, our guest is the famous fitness trainer, Harry Pasternak. The beautiful female reporter turned the microphone around. Hello, Harry greeted. Good afternoon, April. I studied the animal kingdom 20 years ago, and there were fat cows and fat pigs, but no fat birds. Okay, now pretend you're a sexy seagull, and we're going to squat and wave your wings. As he said that, the coach arranged for the beautiful female reporter to do the exercise of bending over, kneeling, bouncing, and fluttering her wings. As far as you can imagine, it took half an hour to shoot the commercial. It was really tiring. After finally getting through it, the beautiful female reporter began to complain again. I studied journalism for 4 years just to do this? 4 full years, Fern. It's too embarrassing, she lamented while packing up the shooting equipment. Her male partner, Fern, tried to comfort her. Okay, O'Neil, I understand that you want to be a serious reporter. I saw you wandering around the newsroom looking for big news, but bringing something lighthearted to people is nice too. Not bad, she questioned. Yeah, I think, O'Neil, you don't need to push yourself all the time. Give yourself some rewards, such as... Dee, the phone rang. The beautiful female reporter quickly stuffed the coffee into her companion's arms, took out her phone, and took a look. Oh my gosh! What's wrong? Fern asked, peering over her shoulder. The sky is falling, and you want news foam? Look, Red Skull, Hydra, Captain America, S-Shield, Alexander Pierce, and the 3 S-Shield founders. Oh no, this doesn't look fake at all, and there's also the S-Shield seal. April O'Neil felt like she was going crazy, holding her phone in one hand and her long hair in the other, constantly flipping through batches of data files on the internet. This can't be true, right? The Security Council is also involved, And there's information about the Battle of New York not long ago? Oh, my God, the world is going to change drastically. Fern was equally stunned, stammering after a while. Isn't this fake? It seems very real. Watch it on YouTube. At this moment, 3 helicarriers were bombing each other in the sky over Washington. This scene had been posted on the internet by shooting enthusiasts and was being broadcast live. Look, this building. This is the Security Council building. These 3 are S-Shield helicarriers. SHIELD was invaded by Hydra. Damn, too much information. My brain is a bit overwhelmed. April O'Neil grabbed her hair tightly. The mobile phone screen was too small to view the hundreds of thousands of pages of leaked archives detailing everything S-Shield had been involved in since World War II. Fern patted his companion vigorously. Crazy, crazy, crazy. This world is really crazy, O'Neil. Look, I saw your sister. No, I saw. In short, what do you see? What? When April O'Neil looked up, she was also dumbfounded. Not far away, she saw a girl who looked exactly like her. Almost exactly the same. End of this chapter. Chapter 289. 2 Miss Foxes. In a cozy coffee house, a lively conversation was taking place. Hey, look at them. Are they twins? One patron asked. Right? Another replied. It seems like it. They don't look exactly the same, but their temperaments are different, someone else noted. Twins are nothing special. But guess what? Did you see the information that broke out on the internet just now? Is it true? Another person chimed in. It should be true, right? There's a video on YouTube, and people witnessed the whole process in Huasheng. If you don't believe me, you can fly over and see the traces. They won't be cleaned up for a while. Red Skull, Hydra? I was misled by history books for 30 years, someone exclaimed. Who wasn't? History has covered up a lot of truths. I really didn't expect that S-Shield is actually a World War II Hydra. How do the idiots in charge do things? Another person added. S-Shield really exists. Damn, it's hidden under the Security Council. It's really, an ordinary person remarked, generally unaware of S-Shield's existence. No matter what the mess is, I will trust the captain, one person declared. Yes, I also believe in the captain. You can't believe what the official sources say, another agreed. In a corner on the other side, 2 identical beauties were staring at each other. Fern, who was on the side, felt the tension. This is too difficult, Fern thought. How do you look at them? These 2 are so similar, the degree of similarity is 99%, infinitely close to 100%. Ahem, let me refill your drinks, Fern said, quickly standing up and hurrying away. The atmosphere was too weird, and the coffee here could be refilled. As soon as Fern left, the 2 beauties started chatting. Who the hell are you? Why do you look like me? Are you my dead father's illegitimate daughter? No, illegitimate daughters can't be the same. You shouldn't be my twin sister, right? April O'Neil questioned. All over the world, there are many people who have no blood relationship but have a similarity of more than 95%, but almost 100% of them have never been heard of. It can't be a half-sibling. Are they really twins, just lost or carried away? But she had never heard of it from her father. It was too late to ask for a certificate now, because her father had passed away. The other beautiful woman, who looked exactly the same, had a slightly wary look. You should not be a mutant? Huh? April O'Neil responded in confusion. Mutant? Of course not. She wanted to catch a mutant for an interview. Although there are many mutants in this world, the chances of encountering them while walking on the main road are still very small. Then she figured it out. Are you wondering if I'm a mutant and I've turned into your face? Heh, I've used this face for 20 years, and it's copyrighted. I've heard of mutants who turn into other people's faces, like Mystique in the X-Men movies. It is said that she is still the dean of the X-Men Academy. Hey, I have always wanted to interview her. Saying that, April O'Neil was stunned. Wait, aren't you Mystique? Do you mean Raven? I know her well. If I have time, I can introduce you to her, the other woman replied. You pirated my face, April O'Neil said, curling her lips. The beauty with the same face shape couldn't hold back anymore and almost burst the cup. Oh, then how old are you? Please show me your driver's license. You show me yours first, April retorted. Let's show them together, the other woman suggested. Together, 3, 2, 1. Swish! The driver's licenses were lined up side by side, and April O'Neil was stunned. Michaela Baines, LA born 26. April read aloud. You are 24 years old, so you are my little sister. Now, it seems that you have pirated my face, Michaela said with a smile, a dangerous glint in her eyes. Ah, heh. April O'Neil smiled awkwardly and silently withdrew her driver's license. Embarrassing, so embarrassing. That's right, both of them were Miss Fox. Michaela Baines, from the Transformers series. April O'Neil, from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. The same face shape, the same Miss Fox, but with different hairstyles and different lives. Michaela is a real fox, cunning, aggressive, and full of guile. On the other hand, April O'Neil is the type who balances wisdom and courage, acting decisively when she sets her mind to something. In simple terms, one is soft and the other is rigid. Michaela is the soft one, while April O'Neil is the tough one. You were born in Los Angeles? Then do you know? April O'Neil's curiosity was piqued. Don't worry, I can't be your twin sister, Michaela replied. But couldn't the birth date be faked? April O'Neil, ever the reporter, was eager to uncover the truth. The resemblance between them was uncanny. Could it be that they were swapped at birth in the hospital? My father is a car thief. Although he has reformed, he still stays in Los Angeles to repair cars, Michaela explained, shaking her head. Okay. Then is it convenient to do a DNA test? April O'Neil persisted. Inconvenient. Anyway, I'm not your sister, Michaela said firmly. Maybe you are my sister, April O'Neil muttered under her breath. The birth date could be faked. Who knows who was born first? What do you do? April O'Neil asked, showing her press card. I'm a reporter. Oh, no wonder you're so serious, Michaela said, slightly embarrassed. I study archaeology. Archaeology? April O'Neil shook her head, thinking of the misinformation often found online. Archaeology and everything else can be deceiving. The truth is often covered up. Only reporters can dig out the real truth. Well, you are quite motivated. Keep it up. By the way, do you know me? Michaela asked. Huh? April O'Neil was momentarily stunned and shook her head. That's right. If you knew me, you wouldn't be so surprised. I have a lot of history. I've experienced 2 Cybertron robot invasion incidents. I've had several close conversations with Optimus Prime. Not only that, I also know people from the X-Men Academy, and I lived in Karazhan for a while. I know Duke, and I even kissed him. Michaela boasted. April O'Neil's mouth dropped open, her eyes dull with shock. Why was Michaela suddenly bragging? I even kissed Tony Stark, Michaela added, rolling her eyes. What's Tony? He's just Duke's grandson. You're 2 generations shorter than me in an instant, Michaela said with a charming, fox-like smile. April O'Neil's brain shut down again, unable to process the barrage of information. End of this chapter. Chapter 290, Becoming a Celebrity. It seemed that the situation had eased a lot. Fern weighed the circumstances and then returned with 2 cups of coffee. Here you go, ladies. The coffee is ready. Finally, April O'Neil rolled her eyes. Fern felt embarrassed. What could he do? He couldn't afford to offend either of them, even if he had to sleep on it. Thanks, Michaela said with a smile as she took the cup. Fern's worldview was about to be turned upside down. He stood up and went outside to take a breath. A woman who looked a lot like April O'Neil had appeared, which made him, someone who had always liked O'Neil, feel extra confused. It was like when someone who looks exactly like your girlfriend suddenly appears one day. It throws you off completely. Lighting a cigarette, he took a breath of solitude. Hey, tell me, is Tony really Duke's grandson? April O'Neil asked. Her curiosity piqued as she jotted down notes in her small notebook. Although it seemed likely, she needed confirmation. As a reporter, April O'Neil was always on the lookout for big news, stories about influential people, and juicy gossip. Naturally, Duke was often on her mind. Who was the most powerful person on Earth? The President of the United States. Don't be ridiculous. The President was just a figurehead. The real power lay with Duke. Strength determined status, and status determined power. As the most powerful person, Duke was undoubtedly #1 on Earth. O'Neil, aspiring to uncover big news, often studied Duke's activities and his personal life. Unfortunately, Duke was an enigma, leaving no trace to follow. The only thing she had managed to uncover was their relationship, and even that wasn't her discovery. Duke had arrived in New York in 1920. At that time, the head of the Stark family was Robert Stark, and Tony's father, Howard, was still a child. In terms of seniority, it was quite a stretch. but Tony had never publicly acknowledged this connection. Of course, Michaela confirmed. Did you really kiss Duke? This is some side news. April O'Neil was a little excited. She had always wanted to catch Duke's personal life on record. A man of his stature, with a century of self-discipline, couldn't possibly have only had Diana as a partner for 100 years, right? Look at other powerful people. They all had numerous lovers. Not to mention, Duke's grandson Tony was notorious for his romantic escapades, often seen with a different woman every day. At parties, it wasn't uncommon for him to leave with 2 or 3 women, but it seemed that as he got older, he had settled down. Unexpectedly, today she had finally discovered Duke's personal life. If she published this in the newspaper, she would become famous and a great reporter. Wait, something seemed off. If Michaela looked like her, and it was published in the newspaper, wouldn't it mean that she kissed Duke? She would become famous, but not as a great reporter. Instead, she would become the target of other reporters, completely becoming a celebrity. Michaela looked at her with a smile that seemed to be teasing her, and April was immediately annoyed. Is it fun to fool me? April O'Neil was very angry. No, I really. Michaela started to explain. A familiar voice interrupted, and Michaela felt a little dizzy from the shock. Her face froze immediately. The familiar voice belonged to Duke. Oh no, she had pretended too much. Ahem, dear, but I did hug her. Michaela changed her tone. Although she was reprimanded by Duke, she wasn't afraid, but rather a little happy. It showed that he had always paid attention to her. Well, that's right. Otherwise, why would he have allowed her to live in Karazhan in the first place? Clearly, he was worried that the Decepticons would hurt her. She was very happy. She still hadn't given up. She looked at April O'Neil, wondering if she should call her over too. This would be very exciting for a man, right? But after thinking about it, she decided against it. Finding someone who looked like her to distract herself? Forget it. Wouldn't that share his popularity? But if she didn't, and April O'Neil succeeded in the future, what would Duke think when he saw that April O'Neil was with another person? Girlfriend? It must be very awkward. For a person of his status, how could he allow a woman with the same face shape as his lover to be someone else's girlfriend? Found a dead end? Otherwise, I won't accept it, and this will solve the troubles cleanly and neatly. If you want to accept it, you have to accept both, otherwise it will be even more troublesome. And so, Duke must know April O'Neil. He heard what she said just now. How could he not see April O'Neil? It's over. It's over. Slap yourself in the face. The mood is not beautiful in an instant. Okay, I have to leave beforehand. Exchange a mobile phone number. Michaela stood up. She needed to calm down. Ah, good. April O'Neil was a little puzzled. Why did she suddenly feel her breath change? By the way, when can I go to interview Duke? You little bitch. You are in such a hurry to reach the sky, Michaela thought, not happy. Well, to be honest, I don't know if he has time. How about this? I will contact you for an interview with the X-Men Academy bar. When she heard the first half of the sentence, April O'Neil was still a little disappointed and angry, feeling that Michaela's previous words were all deliberately teasing her and telling lies. But after hearing what happened later, she was happy again. It shouldn't be fake, right? Just give her a few more days. Okay, thanks. Let me know when it is, so I can make preparations. April O'Neil waved her fist excitedly. You must know that although the X-Men Academy is semi-open to the outside world, it will be open every Sunday for some people to come in and visit, but not everyone is eligible for interviews. For now, the X-Men are still very popular. Within a week, Michaela knew what O'Neil was thinking, waved and left. Wait for the call. See you. After arriving at the door, seeing Fern still smoking, Michaela smiled. Do you like her? Ahem? Fern didn't expect the same face to come over suddenly. He turned his head and glanced guiltily. He was relieved to see O'Neil still tidying up the small books. Scary people will scare people to death. I'm sorry, but I'll give you a piece of advice. If you like her, you'd better move on. She's not suitable for you. Michaela smiled and patted Fern on the shoulder. What do you mean? Just because you look alike, you look down on me, so you don't care what we do. Fern was very angry. I had a crush on her just now. Now, get the hell out. Because she is destined to become Duke's woman, and I am the same, so if you don't want to die, you better hold on to your brother. Michaela smiled playfully, raised her eyebrows, and glanced under the eyes of Fern. The latter suddenly felt a chill. Duke was also very embarrassed and speechless. Miss Fox was definitely looking for a lover for him. End of this chapter. Chapter 291, The Shield Incident. The Shield Incident came to an end with a bang. A group of several people stood on a tall building, looking at the cleanup work unfolding below, feeling a mix of emotions. Hydra's largest institution was over, and S.H.I.E.L.D. was also finished. "It's a pity that it had to be ruined like this," Black Widow remarked, clicking her lips. Agent Romanoff. Tony Stark turned his head, speechless. Just moments ago, she had wanted to destroy it righteously, without any regret. "Sk." Black Widow shrugged her shoulders. "I do have a little regret now." "Tony," Captain America turned his head. "What? You suggested the turbo device? Are you going to settle accounts with me? I didn't know Hydra was embedded in S.H.I.E.L.D., and I had no idea about the Insight project. I was used, okay? Besides, didn't I come to clean up the mess?" Tony Stark retorted. Why wasn't Tony in Captain America the Winter Soldier, but he appeared in Captain America Civil War? Because in the Winter Soldier, the aircraft carriers could have been easily taken down by Tony's armored weapons. A few attacks, and the carriers would sink. Just blow up 2 wheels, and they would fall. 3 helicopter carriers, blow up 6 wheels, and they all go down. Tony could have handled it in a few circles, and the dozens of battles with water would be unnecessary. The facts proved that after Tony joined, the modules of the 3 aircraft carriers were quickly replaced successfully. "You're thinking too much," Steve shook his head. "I just want to say that the freedom of pointing guns at people is not freedom. That's all." After finishing, he walked downstairs. As expected of Captain America, his perception was keen. He sensitively realized that Stark's idea might align with S.H.I.E.L.D.'s, no, with Hydra's. They both hoped to establish an absolute defense line to protect the people, but they forgot that the people don't need protection with a gun pointed at their heads. There were still many things to deal with. How to finish the ruined S.H.I.E.L.D. was a major task. Although it was decided to destroy S.H.I.E.L.D., it was Peggy's effort after all. Although Hydra was destroyed, rebuilding work was still needed. The Avengers' headquarters that was built on the remnants of S.H.I.E.L.D. could not continue to be corroded. Identifying capable people, identifying clean people, and so on. The work ahead was very tiring. What does he mean? Looking at Captain America's departing back, Tony Stark was stunned and turned to look at Black Widow. "What did you do? How would I know?" Black Widow shrugged and left too. "What the hell is with everyone?" Tony Stark scratched his head, closed his helmet again, and flew south. "Whether you send it or not." The cleanup was done, and it was time for him to return to New York. The Sky Eye project had directly changed the fate of many people. On top of that, Falcon was gone. This time, Captain America did not go to Camp Caspian with Black Widow and was not bombed by a missile, so he did not contact Falcon for help. Whether Falcon would appear later was a matter for the future. With Falcon's disappearance, Bucky, a new player, joined the Avengers. Although Bucky had joined S.H.I.E.L.D. before, he was not a member of the Avengers team, making him a completely new addition. Maria Hill still joined Stark Industries, following the orders of Nick Fury. Agent number 13, Sharon Carter, joined the CIA. Although her aunt was still around this time, she did not want to join the Avengers for the time being. She wanted to do things, not prepare a new institution. Usually, it takes a month for a new organization to be fully established at the fastest, and she didn't want to waste her energy. The most important thing was that she didn't want to see her uncle. Seeing him showing affection made her feel sour as a single person. Many congressmen lurking in government agencies were exposed because of the information released on the internet, and they were arrested one after another. Of course, this is just the beginning. In a room downstairs, Captain America saw Agent Sitwell and smiled at his flustered look. "You're lucky," he remarked. It was indeed fortunate. Delaying for an hour at the base had actually worked. In such a chaotic situation, surviving was no small feat. Finally seeing his savior, Sitwell ran over, sweating profusely, almost kneeling down to hug Captain America's leg. "Captain, you promised to keep me safe," he pleaded. "Not free?" Peggy Carter sneered. She had always despised opportunists like Sitwell. Half a century ago, she had dealt with many such speculators. If she didn't need him to deal with Hydra, she would have eliminated him long ago. Of course, Sitwell nodded quickly, adept at playing word games. He hadn't expected S.H.I.E.L.D.'s information to be exposed online, including the part kept by Hydra. Chief Carter was ruthless, directly destroying their rebirth. He hadn't anticipated that his information would be included as well. Searching for himself earlier had almost given him a heart attack. But then he calmed down. No one should know he leaked the secret. Although there was a lot of information about Hydra online and countless undercover agents had been exposed, they were all from S.H.I.E.L.D. or had close ties with the Security Council and Parliament. The most urgent secret parts were not recorded. After all, the Hydra within S.H.I.E.L.D. was just a slightly bigger head, including Baron Strucker. The confidential information was not recorded, but was in his mind. As long as no one knew it was him who leaked the secret, he didn't have to worry. No one knew. So what if people knew he was Hydra? Hydra members lurking worldwide wouldn't come to kill him. For now, he just couldn't show his face outside. If everyone else was getting caught and he was fine, it would clearly look like a betrayal. Then, there might really be an assassin after him. I advise you to cooperate with us. If you spread the leak, guess what will happen? Peggy Carter sneered. You can't kill a donkey after it has done its work, Sitwell cried. Captain America smiled. Actually, there's no need to do that. Just throw him out. Sitwell was sweating profusely. Captain, don't scare me. I trust you. You can't kill a donkey like this. All right, for now, I'll throw you to Stark and give you a separate room, but you can't go out, Captain America said, grabbing Sitwell by the neck. I understand. Thank you, Sitwell nodded quickly. Even if they let him go out now, he wouldn't dare, fearing a sniper's bullet to the head. End of this chapter. Chapter 292, Recruiting Sky. The second biggest change in Project Insight was Nick Fury. Originally, Fury had faked his death using the attack as a cover, even going so far as to use a fake grave. But now, everyone knows he is alive. Although he was attacked, he managed to escape, and there is no body to prove that Nick Fury is dead. However, he's still left to continue tracking down the traces of Hydra. Unlike in the previous Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. plot, he did not support Phil Coulson as the director. S.H.I.E.L.D. must disappear. This was ordered by his old boss, Peggy Carter. If it weren't for her, Fury might have supported Coulson in rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D. But now, with the old boss's directive, he won't be busy with these things. The real S.H.I.E.L.D. might still emerge behind the scenes, but that's another story. Coulson's special agent team also announced its disbandment on the spot and merged into the upcoming Avengers. As always, the Avengers' headquarters is temporarily on the top floor of the Stark Industries building. Whether they will move later is a matter for the future. Another change is the Black Widow. Aren't you going to stay? Captain America asked, hoping to keep her, as the Black Widow was a valuable ally. No, my identity is all exposed. I have to get a new one, Black Widow replied with a smile. That's going to take a while, Captain America noted. Just take a break, she said, waving her hand and leaving. Captain America failed to receive a parting kiss from the Black Widow. She had wanted to tease him, but seeing Peggy Carter next to him, she decided against it, not wanting to cause any trouble. In fact, Duke has always been curious about why the Black Widow kissed Captain America in the end, even though it was on the cheek. Although this can be regarded as a Western kiss, she had earlier suggested that Captain America date Sharon Carter, and then she kissed him just after saying that. This clearly seemed provocative, and in the days after Reunion 3, it indeed caused some stir. It is indeed an open Western culture. In a coffee shop, Sky, you can't do it, Bucky said helplessly. This time, Steve took the lead again, although it was a tie in the end. Steve was the first to know about the events of Project Insight and the first to save Nick Fury. It was a tie, but Sky failed to investigate Alexander Pierce's intelligence before the U.S. team detected it. Can you blame me? Sky took a sip of her tea and rolled her beautiful big eyes. The time was too short, okay? I was already speeding up. Who would have thought that before I could send it to you, it would be exposed on the internet first? In the past few days, Sky had been very excited. Although these secrets were no longer exclusive to her, She still enjoyed reading them until late at night. It was an eye-opener. The world is so chaotic, so dirty, super awesome to say. Forget it. What's the plan for the near future? Bucky shook his head. There would be plenty of chances to beat Steve in the future. What else can I plan? Just continue my old business. The team has been disbanded, Skye shrugged. It was merged into the Avengers after preparation for integration, Bucky emphasized. That's right. Skye nodded repeatedly and took another sip of her tea out of boredom. I'm not a member of your team. At best, I was forcibly recruited. The Skeleton Project has been terminated, Michael. Forget it. It's nothing to do with me now. What else can I do if I don't go back to my old job? Are you going to let me starve to death? Bucky, actually, I can recommend you to join the Avengers. Your hacking skills are very powerful and completely useful. Farewell, I like freedom. Skye shook her head. Decided. Decided. Bucky hesitated for a moment and said, S.H.I.E.L.D. has canceled your case, of course, before it was destroyed. Your identity is also approved. I can introduce you to a— Don't! Skye raised his hand abruptly. I've already said that I like freedom, so I don't want to stay in an office from 9:05. Then do you like the life in the squad? It's okay. It's a brand new sense of excitement, and it's also very fulfilling. It's okay to be free, Skye said subconsciously. Then his eyes widened. The voice didn't seem to be Bucky's. Hastily, he turned around to look. There was someone standing next to him. What, Duke? Skye exclaimed, startled by Duke's appearance. Duke, are you stuttering? Duke smiled and sat down beside Skye. Bucky was surprised. Why are you here? I'm building a team, and I still need an MVP, Duke said. MVP? Although it sounded a bit odd, it was clear he meant he needed a key player, the main combat power. Are you looking for me? I'm sorry, I've already joined the Avengers, Bucky said, then paused, realizing something. No, it's not you, it's Skye. Huh? Bucky froze. Skye was also taken aback, pointing at himself with a rounded mouth. Me? You're not mistaken. I'm just an ordinary person. I can give you information, chef, but I can't fight. He waved his hands quickly. No, I see potential in you. You don't know your own potential, Duke said with a smile. Me? Potential? Skye was still pointing at himself, his face full of disbelief. Are you kidding me? After living for 20 years, I really don't think I have any potential. Bucky seemed to understand something. Is she a mutant? A mutant? Me? Skye felt like he couldn't close his mouth anymore. The shocks of the day had left him reeling. If I were a mutant, I would have awakened by now, especially after all the near-death experiences I've had. You are not a mutant, but you are similar to one. You just lack a catalyst. Of course, if you really have that kind of blood. Duke took out an object, an irregular piece of an obelisk, silver-gray in color. This is? Try it. What do I do? Skye wondered. Hold it. Oh. Skye subconsciously stretched out his hand and held the obelisk. At the same moment, the silver-gray obelisk suddenly lit up with a brilliant golden light. Strange golden runes appeared on it. Startled, Skye withdrew his hand. What is this? What happened? As soon as he withdrew his hand, the golden light disappeared. Bucky wanted to catch the obelisk, but Duke slapped his hand away. Don't touch it if you don't want to die. What? Bucky exclaimed. End of this chapter. Chapter 293, Earthquake Girl. Duke wasn't sure if Skye had inhuman blood. How could he be? This world wasn't a complete replica of the Marvel Universe. Although Duke had long discovered the existence of the Inhumans and had even seen Skye's mother, it was still impossible to confirm whether Skye had inhuman blood. The probability was more than 90%, but certainty eluded him. Only those with inhuman blood would react to the obelisk. Duke had forgotten much of the plot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and wasn't sure if ordinary people would be petrified and blackened after touching the obelisk. He slapped Bucky's paw away, knowing that ordinary people would indeed turn into black sculptures upon contact with the crystal. To ensure safety, he had placed a layer of magical protection on the obelisk. It now appeared that Skye was indeed an Inhuman. What is this? Skye asked, still bewildered. It's another force, the Inhumans, Duke explained. As he spoke, the three of them had already left the coffee shop and were now sitting outside Karazhan. With a sun umbrella overhead, they sat at a small table with small chairs, much like in a coffee shop. Bucky and Skye hadn't even noticed the transition, except for the cold wind they felt. Two words popped into Skye's mind. teleportation, and spectral jump. Wasn't this too powerful? Wait, Inhumans? You say I'm an Inhuman? What is an Inhuman? Skye asked, still trying to grasp the concept. Bucky also pricked up his ears, curious. Do you know about mutants? Duke asked. I know. Professor X. Charles once published a paper saying that mutants were the result of experiments conducted on humans by the Celestials in ancient times. Mutants are the descendants of the first batch of experimenters, Skye nodded. It's just, not many people agree with this statement. Of course, it's also because of the lack of evidence. By the way, is it true? Bucky was a little stunned. Celestials? He had been out of the loop for a long time, having slept through half the world and only cared about reuniting with his friends upon waking. He knew about the X-Men, but wasn't interested in their origins. Duke nodded. It's true. He knew about the paper. Charles had published it in the early years to improve the status of mutants, giving them a sense of self-identity and pride so they wouldn't feel like freaks. The hope was that they would no longer hide in humility and could stand proudly under the sun, coexisting peacefully with humans. Unfortunately, human fear never stemmed from blood, but from a lack of identity. Humans could never fully accept mutants, only maintain a stable relationship with them. Moreover, Charles's actions had intensified the conflict between some mutants and humans. Some mutants, believing they had the blood of high-level cosmic gods, saw themselves as a superior race. They questioned why a lower group should rule over a higher one, exacerbating the conflict. Consequently, the paper was blocked less than a month after its publication. But Skye couldn't be bothered with that now. With the recent exposure of SHIELD data, part of the mutant data, including this article, had also been revealed. Inhumans are like mutants, Skye said, suddenly excited. Her eyes widened. Huh? You mean also the cosmic gods? No, they're the result of experiments by aliens, a group called the Kree, Duke corrected, waving his hand. Skye suddenly deflated. I feel much weaker now. The term cosmic celestials had a grand, awe-inspiring ring to it. In contrast, Kree sounded much less impressive. The product of an alien experiment? She imagined the stereotypical alien in a gray suit with black eye sockets, a small body, and a big head, riding a disc. Then she remembered that Thor and others were also aliens. It's a little, Duke smiled as he spoke. The Kree are indeed powerful, though not as formidable as the cosmic gods. Still, some of them could easily defeat Thor. Is that so? Skye felt a bit relieved. In ancient times, the Kree came to Earth and conducted experiments on humans. However, due to their ongoing war with the Skrulls, they eventually left Earth and never returned. The humans they experimented on gradually spread and became known as the Inhumans, hidden among the human population, Duke explained. Inhumans are quite similar to mutants in appearance, he continued. Most Inhumans look just like regular humans, with only a few exceptions, such as Gorgon with his recurved legs, Triton the Murloc, and Reyna the Hedgehog. On the other hand, mutants often have more noticeable differences from humans. In the movies, most mutants are depicted as low-level types with strange appearances and little combat effectiveness. It's quite rare to find someone like Hank Beast who can control his abilities freely. The main difference lies in how they awaken. Mutants awaken naturally or through trauma, while Inhumans rely on this, Duke said, pointing to the obelisk. This... Skye was taken aback. The object inside is called a Terrigen crystal. Because these crystals are so rare, Inhumans are less common than mutants. The exact reason for this rarity is still unknown, Duke explained. Skye fell silent, contemplating Duke's words. After a while, she looked up at him. You want me to awaken as an Inhuman and join your team? Yes, Duke confirmed. Another long silence followed. Will I become a monster? Skye asked hesitantly. Based on my judgment of you, no, Duke reassured her. Your judgment? Skye raised an eyebrow. Who knows what I'll become? Before awakening, no one can predict how ugly they might turn out. Don't worry, I promise you'll still be beautiful, Duke laughed. He was confident that Skye would become Earthquake with the power of shockwaves. One last question, Skye said. Go ahead, Duke replied. What happens if the blood of Inhumans and mutants is mixed? Has that ever happened? Skye inquired. Duke shrugged. How would I know? But theoretically, it's possible. Pure Inhuman blood cannot awaken without Terrigen crystals, but mutants are different. Whether the bloodlines of inhumans and mutants can combine is still unknown. No experiments have been done, so no one knows if a child would be born from such a union, but it should be possible. Think about it, and call me when you've made your decision, Duke said, standing up. He patted Bucky on the shoulder and left the room. End of this chapter. Chapter 294, Facing Destiny. Bucky was a little confused. Why are you shooting me, and why are you telling me these secrets? Who am I? Where am I? Why am I here? Duke pouted and whispered, You pretend I don't see it. You like Sky. Bucky was taken aback. What does this have to do with anything? Duke continued, How do you think she will choose? Diana interjected, It's not difficult to guess. She is a person who yearns for power. She is very independent. She has been working hard alone, trying to find her life experience by her own strength, Duke said. Is that the Inhumans you mentioned earlier? Diana asked. Yes, Duke replied. Do we need to intervene? Diana inquired. No, the Inhuman race is just a small matter. It's good to leave it to Mara and their new team, just to hone their skills, Duke said cautiously, while also paying attention to Diana's reaction. Fortunately, it seemed that there were no mood swings. What do you think? Bucky asked. What do you think? Sky retorted. Bucky was choked. What does this have to do with me? I'm about to wake up and you won't be able to beat me, Sky said with a smile. Are you confident? Are you sure? No. Why should I fight you? Bucky was a little embarrassed. You won't be able to beat me then. I will beat you, Sky insisted. Ahem, I really don't know what you're talking about, Bucky said, sensing that something was about to happen. Tell me, do you like me? Sky demanded. Bucky choked on his coffee. Say! Why do you like it or not? Cough, cuff! I didn't. Before he could finish, Sky suddenly raised her hand and shouted, Duke, I've decided. I'll face my fate head on. Very good. Duke dodged over, slapped the obelisk away with one palm, and at the same time grabbed Bucky with the other hand, throwing him behind and adding a shield to him. Then the obelisk exploded suddenly, and a cluster of silver-gray crystals inside continued to proliferate to the limit. An unusually violent breath erupted from the crystal cluster, and Sky fell backward uncontrollably under the pressure. The crystal cluster exploded completely, and Sky inhaled a large amount of Terrigen gas. It felt quite uncomfortable, like inhaling a puff of musty gas, a feeling of blockage. Cough, cough. As soon as Sky got up, she found that her body was being wrapped by something black like asphalt. Starting from her hands and feet, it quickly spread to her whole body, and finally, even her head was covered, becoming a stone man like asphalt. No, Bucky hammered the shield desperately. What had just happened was so fast that he didn't even have time to react. Howling! Howling! She's not dead! Duke glared at Bucky. This is a normal process. This is called rebirth in the Inhumans. Rebirth from the shell. When she rushes out, she will complete her transformation. Then he glanced playfully. You also said that you don't like her. Why are you so excited? Bucky looked embarrassed. The prince in love back then, for some reason, wouldn't pick up girls after waking up. It may be 50 years behind, and the routines can't keep up, and he didn't know if it was because of the red dragon arm, but he didn't have that much interest in women anymore. It wasn't until he joined the S-Shield team and met Sky that the original impulse emerged. Duke dismissed the shield. Looking at the stone sculpture Sky, Bucky was a little anxious. How long will it take to break the shell and be reborn? I don't know, Duke replied. What? Seeing that Bucky was anxious, Duke stopped teasing him. Usually, this process will be very fast, usually within 5 minutes. Of course, there are also very slow ones, but at most, it will not exceed half an hour. After half an hour, if she hasn't broken through the shell, she will die completely. Then can I break it? Bucky asked, desperation in his voice. Bucky asked anxiously, Try one. No, no, no. Bucky quickly shook his head. What if it breaks? 1 point, 2 points. Bucky felt like it had been an eternity. He was sweating profusely in his hurry when suddenly, crack, a crisp sound echoed, like rain after a long drought. He instantly became excited. A small piece of asphalt fell from his hand, and then cracks slowly spread around it. The anxious Bucky wanted to help, to break it for her. But he also understood that chicks must not be helped when they break their shells, otherwise they might not be able to stand up. God knows what would happen if he helped Sky at this moment. Crack, The asphalt on her face also cracked, revealing Sky's eyes. She was still blinking. Not dead. Apparently she was all right. Sky, you. I advise you not to get too excited. Duke patted Bucky on the shoulder and walked aside. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful of what? Before Bucky could react, Sky exploded. Before it had cracked just a little bit, she went all out and blew the asphalt fragments off her body. Fragments ricocheted in all directions. Damn it! Bucky finally understood why Duke had warned him to be careful. With so many fragments, he could be shredded into a sieve at close range. He hurriedly transformed his arm into a dragon's arm and shielded himself, scattering the incoming fragments into pieces. Phew, the ordeal was finally over. The small fragment wound on his shoulder didn't matter anymore. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt. You really? Bucky just wanted to tease Sky a bit, but Duke shouted again, be careful. What? Be careful of what? As soon as the thought crossed his mind, the hairs on the back of Bucky's head stood on end. His years of soldiering made him sense danger. Ah! Sky exploded again, shaking her arms violently like a Saiyan, and exploding once more. The shock waves slammed in all directions violently. Bucky, who was the first to bear the brunt, was thrown back without a word. He spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Bucky just wanted to say, Misty grass. Really can't beat it. Can't beat it. After flying more than 20 meters, Bucky landed on his buttocks, rolled a few times, and lay on the ground spread eagle. The impact felt like a magnitude 10 earthquake wave at close range. If Bucky had been in his human state, his bones, flesh, and internal organs would have been shattered and he would have died. Now, thanks to the red dragon arm, most of the impact was blocked. His bones were a little cracked, but fortunately, his internal organs were not seriously harmed. Of course, Sky didn't do it on purpose. It was just that the abundant strength made her feel uncomfortable. When you vomit, you know something is wrong. Bucky, are you okay? Seeing Bucky being sent flying by her, Sky's heart skipped a beat, and she hurried forward. It's just a severe dizziness came over her, and her body tilted to one side. Be careful. End of this chapter. Chapter 295, Formation of the Squad. Duke put his arms around Sky to prevent her from falling to the ground. How is she? Cough! Bucky slowly got up and limped over. You'd better worry about yourself first. I never expected you to have a caring about others side, Duke joked with a laugh, then gently placed Sky on a wicker chair. Seeing Bucky still looking at Sky nervously, he stopped teasing him. She's fine. Her power surged suddenly, and she just fell into a coma due to the excessive force. She'll probably wake up in 6 hours. Can't you wake her up sooner? Bucky asked urgently. It's best not to, Duke shook his head. The sudden surge of power requires her to adapt. The coma is actually an emergency response to help her body adjust. Waking her up prematurely could be counterproductive. After speaking, he took out a pair of arm armor and put it on Sky. What is this? Bucky asked. To keep her arms from getting hurt, Duke replied. Injured? By the way, she has awakened some ability. Ahem. Duke raised his hand and cast a healing spell, and Bucky's fracture healed quickly. Amazing! The injury healed instantly? I thought it would take at least a month to recover, Bucky exclaimed. What do you think her ability is? Duke asked. Bucky recalled the attack he received just now and hesitated. Is it a shock? No, it seems not quite like it. Shocks are mostly straight, and hers are more like seismic waves, Duke finished for him. Yes, seismic waves. Bucky nodded quickly, then opened his mouth wide. Isn't it? That's right. She can indeed cause earthquakes. Strong shock waves and seismic waves are her abilities. Because of her powerful abilities, when she uses them, they also backfire on her, Duke explained. So this gauntlet, Bucky began. It's just to help her adapt temporarily. To fully withstand the backlash of the shockwave, she needs to constantly train herself. Only by exercising hard can her body become strong enough to bear it. Outsiders can't help her, Duke said. After speaking, he waved his hand, and the scene changed again. Take her to rest first. House of Wishes. This place had been built as a new team stronghold. The entire small building had been reinforced with several layers of spells, so there was no need to worry that Sky would destroy it. Duke had also set up a small surgery space here, which could be used as a simulated combat training room, and Mara had the authority to open and close it. Boss, A red figure stood up and bowed respectfully. What the hell? Bucky, who had just picked up Sky, saw the big red head in the distance and subconsciously wanted to kick it. The big red head scratched his head in embarrassment. My name is Samuel Stern. You can call me Big Boss. That's right. After a month of cruel torture, the big green boss had finally transformed into a red-skinned version, changing from an evil version to a kind one. Despite his fierce appearance, he was very kind. Aha! Stern, I knew you would scare people. Look, you're right? Bronsky laughed loudly beside him. He, too, had gone through a month of torture and was almost killed by a skeleton reptile, which had changed his mind a lot. But for Bronsky, Duke still gave a heavy guarantee. If he tried to run away or do something bad again, he would self-destruct. How dare you call me scary? The way you transform is even more terrifying, right? The big boss rolled his eyes. I have a phantom mask that can change my appearance. Bronsky was stunned and almost choked. The phantom mask could change one's appearance according to their own ideas, but it could only be bound once. Once bound, no changes could be made. Although Bronsky could finally turn back into a human body after repeated experiments, the hate he incarnated could still scare children. So, Duke made him a phantom mask, which could change the appearance of the abomination. After Bronsky set himself up, it was no longer so scary. So, the snot monster, contrary to its name, is actually kind of cute. It resembles a fat ball, green in color, with a round belly and domineering arms. Its legs are disproportionately smaller, making it look a bit funny when it runs. Despite its short legs, it moves with surprising vigor. Of course, this is just an illusion. Its body structure remains unchanged. It is still that horrible abomination, capable of running, jumping, and sprinting with ease, much like Aladdin's magic lamp. Let you pretend you don't want to use it yet. Bronsky countered and mocked. Wow, you dare to say that to me? Take this gamma ray. The big boss retorted, shooting a green light directly from between his brows, hitting Bronsky's chest. Damn it. Are you serious? Take this punch. The two began to fight. Bronsky himself had mutated due to gamma rays, indirectly through Banner's blood, which had also been altered by gamma rays. Bronsky had injected himself with it again, meaning he was indirectly irradiated by gamma rays. Therefore, the gamma rays from the big boss did not harm him, they just caused a little pain. As the two fought, Mira slowly descended the stairs. Before she could say anything, the two of them stopped in unison. Aha! With a threatening tone, the two quickly jumped away, laughing. Big sister, I was wrong. Ahem, I was wrong too. Well, you have to admit your mistakes and have the right attitude. If you make a mistake and get beaten, you have to stand firm. It seems that these days, your discipline is not bad. Duke looked at Mira and smiled. The strength of the captain must be strong. Duke had helped Mira improve a lot, and she was already at the legendary level. Although she had just entered the legend, her strength was enough to rank in the top 10 on Earth. The top 5 positions were held by great people, so she couldn't get in. Duke, Gu Yi, Da Chao, and Wonder Woman held the top 4 positions firmly. As for the 5th position, there were many contenders, but Mira was not among them. She wasn't good enough. However, to clean up the big boss in Bronsky, she was more than capable. If you don't accept it, just throw it in and practice, Mira threatened with a smile. No. We submit, absolutely. The big boss and Bronsky quickly waved their hands in unison. Two happy friends, Mira didn't bother to talk to them further. She went down the stairs and looked at Sky carefully. This is your new partner? She asked. Yes, her name is Sky, and her seismic wave ability is quite powerful, Duke introduced. It seems that I can save a lot of trouble, Mira remarked, relieved that someone had shared the fighting power. End of this chapter. Chapter 296, Formation of the Squad. What's wrong with her? Mira asked. I just woke up and I couldn't bear the strong force and passed out. It's okay. She should wake up in 5 or 6 hours, Bucky replied. Oh, it's not a good thing to be too powerful. Just leave her to me, Mira said. Bucky was still holding Sky and was taken aback when he heard this. Huh? What? Are you her boyfriend? Mira inquired. For now. Not for now, Bucky stammered. Then what are you waiting for? Mira said arrogantly as she hugged Sky and walked upstairs. The second floor is a girl's space, and men are not allowed in. Also, if you become her boyfriend in the future, It's better to go out and find a hotel for the night. I don't welcome people to stay overnight here. The building was not small, with a total of 3 floors and a basement. There were 3 rooms on the second floor for Mira, Domino, and now Sky. The first floor had 3 rooms for the big boss and Blonsky, plus a large living room. The basement was much larger, housing the command room and additional living quarters. Ahem. Bucky swallowed nervously. What are you waiting for? Go entertain the guests, Mira called out before disappearing around the corner of the second floor. She glared at the big boss and Blonsky, who quickly tried to greet the guests warmly, though it was awkward. Domino, watching from the side, covered her forehead helplessly. Get out of the way. Let me handle this. Bucky finally breathed a sigh of relief. Being entertained by a rough guy with a big red head felt intimidating. He wondered if it was reckless to leave Sky with this group of unusual individuals. But then he remembered his own red dragon arm and realized he wasn't exactly normal either. 5 minutes later, Mira came back downstairs. It's settled. Let her sleep for a while, she said, turning to Bucky. And you, do you want to join? Bucky hesitated but shook his head. I won't. It seems that a girlfriend is not as good as a good friend, Mira teased, a phrase she had learned from Duke. Cough, cough. Don't cough. Since you won't join, then you can leave, Mira said, about to push him away. I'll wait for her to wake up, Bucky insisted. Why? Are you worried that we'll take advantage of her while she's asleep? Mira teased. Ahem, no, it's just something I want to tell her, Bucky said shyly, avoiding eye contact. Then it's up to you, Duke said, shaking his head. He had never seen Bucky like this before. Are people in love always this flustered? He didn't think so. What about Helena? Has she agreed? Duke asked. Not yet, she's still thinking about it. I really don't know why you invited her. Did you like her? Mira poked him with a smirk. Stop joking. Duke's face darkened, and he slapped Mira's mischievous hand away. If she doesn't want to join, then forget it. I invited her because of her technical ability. It had been half a month since they returned from the dark sea in the center of the earth, and Helena still hadn't made a decision. If she didn't want to join, it wasn't a big deal. They could always call Barry Allen. The Justice League was also dispersing, with some members intending to join and others wanting to go solo. Duke didn't particularly like Helena Wayne. 6 hours later, Sky woke up in a daze. Seeing the unfamiliar room, she immediately checked her clothes. She was wearing pajamas. Who had changed her clothes? Could it have been Duke? A bad thought flashed across her mind. Had Duke taken advantage of her while she was unconscious? She had heard he was very powerful. Even if he had, she might not have felt anything. With a confused and defensive mentality, Sky quietly poked her head out and looked around. You're awake? A female voice said. Sky turned her head and saw she was stunning with a figure to match. You are? I'm Mara. Duke sent you here, and from now on you'll be part of my team. Oh. Suddenly there was a loud thud as a heavy object hit the ground. It was Bucky. Sky, are you awake? Oh, my hands are numb. Bucky had been worried that Sky might be bullied, so he insisted on staying behind. He had tried to stay awake, but eventually dozed off. Seeing Bucky there, Sky felt an inexplicable sense of relief. You haven't left yet? Of course not. I had to wait until you woke up. Before Bucky could finish, Mara smiled and called out, Guys, come out and celebrate our new partner joining us with a backyard barbecue. Wow! The crowd cheered, drowning out whatever Bucky had been about to say. It was getting dark, and it was time for dinner. Behind the small building was an independent yard, perfect for barbecues or growing vegetables. The yard was quite spacious. Soon, the grill was set up, the charcoal was lit, and the oil was sizzling. Come on, let's talk while we eat. I'm the captain of our team. You can just call me Sister. Oh, Sister. This big guy here is Samuel Stern. You can call him Big Boss. Don't be fooled by his looks. He's actually very kind. But if he ever turns green, be careful because that means he's about to become a bad guy. Big Sister. I won't turn green, the boss said, looking a bit deflated. He then waved at Sky. We met earlier. Just call me Boss. Hello. He's Bronsky, the former king of the Seal Rabbit. Just call him Fat. Bronsky. Fat? I can't tell, Sky said, skeptical. 2 years ago, you might have seen the video of Hulk fighting Abomination on the streets of New York, right? Mara asked. Ah, you mean him? That abomination? Sky suddenly realized, and Bucky couldn't help but glance over. I'm already healed, and my transformation looks much better, Bronsky said awkwardly. After being punished for a month and locked up again, he was only released half a year ago. Bronsky didn't want to go back to the little black room again. Take a look at yourself, Sky said. No, it's time to change clothes again. Change, Mara glared. In an instant, Bronsky transformed into a 3-meter-tall fat man, his entire body round. His chest and stomach bulged high, making him look like a balloon. His arms were thick, but his lower limbs were as short as a Tyrannosaurus Rex's forelimbs. Sky couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. Sorry, it's just, you look too much like an angry pufferfish. A green, oversized pufferfish. Pufferfish or not, I have to change clothes again. Bronsky jumped up to the roof, changed his clothes, and jumped back down. He had to change clothes every time he transformed, which was very laborious but unavoidable. And this is Domino, our lucky girl. End of this chapter. Chapter 297, Human Behavior. Lucky girl? Sky asked curiously. Show me. Domino smiled slightly and turned her head to look at Bronsky, whose expression suddenly changed. Oh no, come on, don't resist, Domino said, raising her hand and patting Bronsky on the shoulder. His expression turned gloomy. Don't be afraid, this time it's a good thing. Really? Bronsky resisted, skeptical. You've dealt with me very badly these days. It's been quite miserable. Of course, it should be here soon, Domino said while eating barbecue. Ah. A beautiful mobile phone ringtone interrupted them. Mr. Bronsky? I'm Amazon's customer service. I remind you that your points are about to expire. If you don't use them, they will be cleared next week. Points, clear them to 0. Just clear them to 0. Wait a minute. Okay, I understand. I will go and have a look later. Bronsky originally wanted to hang up directly, but thinking of Domino's words, he reconsidered. Could it really be good luck? He quickly logged into his Amazon.com account and checked his points. Some time ago, he couldn't go anywhere and could only stay in the Wish Hut, being trained day and night. Online shopping became his cure for boredom, and as a result, his Amazon.com points had almost risen in a straight line. More than 1,000 points? He looked through the available exchanges, but found nothing he wanted. So he decided to try his luck with a lottery. One draw for 100 points, and he went for a 10 consecutive draw, using up all his remaining points on lottery tickets. Then, damn, I knew you were playing me again. How can you have any good luck? 10 lottery draws, and what did I get? Bronsky said angrily. Come and see. This pillow is very rare. I've always wanted it. Thank you, Domino said happily. Love is your good luck, and my bad luck? Bronsky was speechless. Sky and Bucky looked a little confused. Is this the legendary luck that can intervene to win the lottery? It's just a pillow, so it doesn't make much sense, even though it looks like a very rare pillow. Wait, if that's the case, Domino can draw the lottery by herself. Could it be that her luck can only be used on others, not herself? Ah, it's time. Let's see if I won the lottery. The big boss took out his phone and clicked on the channel. 13, 15, 21, 34, 47, 07. Shit, I didn't win again. Bronsky was stunned, subconsciously glancing at the lottery ticket he bought just now, and then, what did you say was the winning number? 13, 15, 21, 34, 47, 07. Shite, you won't hit it, will you? The big boss gradually widened his eyes and leaned over to take a look. Fake. Fuck. You really hit it? How much is this additional? Bucky became curious. You can't really win the lottery. How much is it? The big boss calculated carefully and his face froze. If you look at it this way, the additional total is $250 million after tax. Hiss. Toothache. Isn't it? Bucky also had a toothache. It's $250 million. It's just, why is this number a bit awkward? The US 250 is meaningless, but he often heard Duke yelling 205, and he knew it was a curse word. Gradually, he hated this number very much. But there is still some toothache, $250 million after tax. This is going to change ordinary people. As long as they don't die, they can eat and drink for the rest of their lives. At the same time, he was a little shocked. Domino's luck ability is too heaven-defying, right? If it was half a century ago, he might think it was an absolute coincidence. But now? Aliens have appeared. He and his good friend are both 100 years old, and nothing else is impossible. It's just that this luck is a bit illusory. Oh yeah. Bronsky was stunned for a while, then stood up abruptly and shouted. Even though he wasn't too keen on money, it was something worth shouting about. After all, it is a fortune. The prize was something that ordinary people could only dream of obtaining. Okay. To get too excited, the $250 million will be confiscated and used as an event fund, Mara said, pouring cold water on the excitement. What? Blonsky exclaimed. Oh, what? If it wasn't for Domino, would you have won this prize? Mara retorted. Not me, Blonsky started to say. Do you want to practice? Mara interrupted, staring him down. Blonsky suddenly trembled. Confiscate it. I support it 100%. Bucky's curiosity grew even more. What was this practice they were talking about? Originally, Helena was supposed to be here, but she probably won't come, Mara said. Okay, let me introduce myself. Oh, Sky said, quickly putting down the chicken wings in her hand. My name is Sky, and I'm an orphan. Just treat me as an orphan. What does it mean to be an orphan? Bucky wondered. As for my ability, it's not very clear yet, but I'm good with computers so I can help everyone, Sky continued. Well, applause, Mara said, leading the group in welcoming the new team member. Oh, by the way, if Bronsky becomes a big fat man, you must stay 2 meters away from him, Mara added. Ah, why? Sky asked, puzzled. Bronsky laughed. Because that's just my illusion. My body isn't actually structured like that. For example, if I punch your stomach, I might end up hitting your head. Sky nodded. I think I understand. She had a general idea of Bronsky's body shape when he transformed into Abomination. It was indeed completely different from the fat form he had just shown. The size was about the same, but the body structure was entirely different. When he appeared as a fat man, his legs were less than half a meter long and very thin. However, in reality, he still had muscles and thick legs nearly 2 meters long. In other words, when he raised his foot to kick someone, he could kick them away even if they were more than a meter away. The same was true for punching. You might see his fist coming and try to parry with both hands, but his real fist would be above your parry. A punch to your forehead would render your defense meaningless. So, when walking with him, you had to stay away. It might seem like you were keeping your distance, but in reality, he could still knock you away. This was probably what they meant by human confusion behavior. Your ability is very impressive, Sky said, giving a thumbs up. I think so too. Bronsky replied, grinning. His ability made it hard for enemies to guard against him. Their eyes deceived them. Bucky couldn't help but smile. Was this a rascal's trick? However, it was a clever one. By the way, when are we going to perform the mission? Sky asked. The mission was given by Duke. Of course, we can also take on missions ourselves. The current mission is to recover Cybertron's energy pillar. You have 3 days to familiarize yourself with your powers, and then we'll take action, Mara explained. I'll do my best, Sky said determinedly. End of this chapter. Chapter 298, Reasons Wayne Manor. Helena. Mr. Wayne stormed in, his face flushed with anger. What's the matter? I'm in the simulation training room, Catwoman said, stepping forward to take Wayne's coat and hang it on the clothes hanger next to her. What's the matter? I just found out that our dear daughter has been ignoring an important matter for half a month. Mr. Wayne fumed. What important matter? Catwoman asked, her brow furrowing. If it weren't for Duke contacting me personally today, I would still be in the dark, Mr. Wayne continued, his anger mounting. And what did he say? Catwoman inquired, trying to calm him down. What else could he say? He told me that Helena hasn't replied in half a month and has effectively refused his invitation, Mr. Wayne said, his voice rising. Catwoman patted Wayne's back gently, trying to soothe him. If you ask me, it's not necessarily a bad thing that she didn't go. Not a bad thing? The problem isn't just that she didn't go, it's that she wasted half a month of his time. What do you think Duke will think? That we're stringing him along? Mr. Wayne's face turned red with frustration. At that moment, Helena Wayne finished her day's simulation training, opened the door, and walked in. Dad, did you call me? Although this daughter had always been very good, Mr. Wayne was too angry to hold back. Why didn't you just refuse outright instead of leaving him hanging for half a month? I forgot, Helena said, sticking out her tongue. Forgot? How could you forget something so important? How can I trust you with responsibilities if you can't handle this? Mr. Wayne's anger boiled over, and he slammed his hand on the table. Tell me now. Why don't you want to go? You better have a reasonable explanation. It was the first time Helena had seen her father so angry, and she was too terrified to speak. Just then, her younger brother Damien appeared out of nowhere and chimed in, Sister is an idiot. You're everywhere. Go eat your ice cream, Mr. Wayne snapped. Humph, Damien huffed and skipped away. Thanks to her brother's assistance, Helena finally managed to gather her thoughts. I am very grateful for Duke's invitation, but I don't really want to go. The reasons are, first, I am not like them. They all have extraordinary abilities, and I am just an ordinary person. Your father is also an ordinary person. Didn't I work with Uncle Neptune, Uncle Steelbones, Barry, and Diana? If I can do it, why can't you? As an ordinary person, I have fought for this city for more than 40 years. Have I ever felt inferior? Mr. Wayne's anger flared again. This is no excuse. Yes, as ordinary people, we may not have their powers, but it is precisely because of this that we can maintain our integrity. Without abilities, can't we still lead a team? Helena argued, her voice trembling. Then what's the second reason? Mr. Wayne demanded. Duke invited me because of the skills I inherited from you and Mom, stealth, lockpicking, computer support, to assist them in completing tasks. But there are many others who can replace me. My strength is weak compared to theirs, and I feel out of place in their team, Helena explained. You, Mr. Wayne coughed, his anger getting the better of him. Catwoman quickly rubbed his chest to calm him down. Helena, please speak more carefully. You're making your father angry, Catwoman urged. You asked me to explain, Helena muttered under her breath. Compared to joining them, I want to form a team with the same goals as mine. It doesn't need to be earth-shattering. As long as I can help those in need, I will be satisfied. You want to form your own team? Mr. Wayne was taken aback. He had never heard of this before. Yes, Helena nodded. I've been thinking about this for a while, and that's why I forgot to reply. Dad, will Duke be very angry? Duke isn't that petty, but you still need to apologize. Come with me tomorrow, Mr. Wayne said firmly. Huh? Helena's face fell. Catwoman was also puzzled. Honey, is that really necessary? I don't think Duke is that sensitive. Do you remember which 4 families established this city? Mr. Wayne asked, his tone serious. Of course, Catwoman nodded. The Wayne family, the Elliot family, the Kane family, and the Copperpot family. But it's been 200 years. How many are there now? Mr. Wayne asked again. Wayne and Kane, Catwoman replied, anticipating his next question. Now there are still 4 major families. Wayne, Kane, the Stark family, where Iron Man belongs, and the Osborn family. Do you know the ranking? The Stark family has been aggressive for a century and has surpassed us, of course, with Duke's help. Catwoman paused before continuing. The Osborn family has quietly amassed their fortune, and the recent New York invasion has also benefited them greatly. Now they are tied for second with the Wayne family, and I believe they will surpass us in the near future. The veteran Kane family is in constant decline, with most of their descendants obsessed with the positive world. If it weren't for our 2 families helping each other, Kane would have been surpassed by second-rate families. Times are changing. How long can the Wayne family last? Catwoman glanced at her daughter. So you want the Wayne family to get on Duke's good side? So you want your daughter? Helena's eyes widened. Don't you want me to seduce him? Old Man Wayne was unhappy. Don't talk nonsense. I don't. I just want Helena to get closer to Mara. With that connection, it can be considered a link to Duke. In the future, when the Wayne family is in trouble, he will also help us for the sake of our past alliance. He glared at Helena. Why do you think I insisted on letting you go? I'm so mad. Helena pouted. No matter what you say, I just don't want to join someone else's team. I want to be the boss myself. Okay, you don't have to talk about 2 things, Catwoman interjected, glancing at her daughter. You go out first. Don't anger your father here. Oh, then I'm leaving. Goodbye, Dad. Goodbye, Mom. Helena hurriedly fled the room. Look at her. Mr. Wayne was furious. It's because you doted on her since she was a child that she developed such a personality. Catwoman shook her head and asked in a low voice, Is the clan already in chaos? Mr. Wayne's face was full of worry. Not yet. At least I can live for another 20 years. In these 20 years, Damien can also grow up. Helena, probably a mother by then, can also be independent. This world is changing too fast. 100 years ago, who would have known about aliens? Even mutants only existed in legends. Catwoman understood. Are you worried that the family will also follow in the footsteps of the Elliot and Copperpot families? Mr. Wayne nodded. It is said that Wayne and the Kane family jointly destroyed them. Their two families only lasted half the world's glory. Catwoman's face also became worried. End of this chapter. Chapter 299. Deciding on Optimus Prime. The last accurate records of the Elliots and the Copperpots appeared 150 years ago. New York had truly become brilliant and formed a city in the modern sense, but it has only been more than 200 years. It was the efforts of the Wayne family, the Elliot family, the Kane family, and the Copperpot family that led to the glory of New York for more than 200 years. Of course, the existence of these four families can be traced back to more than 300 years ago. 150 years ago, when New York had just flourished for more than half a century, a sudden catastrophe struck. The Elliot family and the Copperpot family were attacked by unknown assailants. In just half a month, the two prominent families that had helped create half of New York disappeared. These families still exist today, but they are mere shadows of their former selves, struggling to survive. The current members of these families are distant relatives who have little to no connection with the original Elliot and Copperpot families from 150 years ago. In today's New York, they are barely surviving, considered 8th-rate or 9th-rate families at best. This is largely due to the Wayne and Kane families, who, remembering their past alliances, spent 10 years searching for the distant descendants of the two families and supported them in rebuilding. Despite this help, the descendants lacked the strength to restore their former glory. The tragedy that befell the two families in less than half a month was devastating. The attackers did not seize property, they only killed. The Wayne and Kane families were also affected to some extent. This disaster allowed the Stark and Osborn families to rise. The events of 150 years ago remain unexplained. Family archives suggest it was caused by a mysterious force. Because there was no conclusive evidence, the deaths were eventually labeled as accidental, vendetta, or gang-related. The Wayne and Kane families endured decades of slander and abuse because of this. Even after finding the distant descendants of the two families, the people of New York remained skeptical. Bruce Wayne has been tracking the truth of what happened back then, and he has concluded that mutants were likely responsible. However, it remains an unsolved case. After all, 150 years have passed, making it nearly impossible to find answers. Long-lived mutants do exist, but finding one who participated in or knows about the events of that year is very difficult. At that time, the understanding of mysterious power was still limited. Bruce has struggled in this city for more than 40 years, encountering no more than 20 mysterious forces in the first 30 years. His rejection of the X-Men is limited to those he has personally fought. In the past 10 years, he has encountered more. After 40 years of struggle, Bruce is still trying to find answers, proving that ordinary people also have the ability to fight against mysterious power. He proved himself by defeating Superman, showing that ordinary people can defeat mysterious forces with the help of technology. The birth of Iron Man also bolstered his confidence, but soon fate dealt him a harsh blow. As his physical fitness declined and he was no longer at his peak, he realized that his belief was an illusion of self-deception. One man's abilities can never stand against mystical forces. After all, there are too few people with super genius minds and the financial means to support technological equipment. The only ones who can take the stage are him, Iron Man, and War Machine. Others simply can't measure up. My persistence may not be a phantom, but it is still a bubble. Bruce Wayne wanted to befriend Duke to ensure that the Wayne family would not meet the same fate as the Elliot and Copperpot families. After all, times have changed. 150 years ago, mutants lived in seclusion, undetected by the world. Half a century ago, mutants began to emerge, unwilling to remain ordinary, and started appearing in the public eye on a large scale. Today, there are even aliens and gods who have descended to Earth, beings that once only existed in ancient mythology. Who knows what kind of disaster will happen in a few years? Relying on the technological ability of a single person is no longer enough to cope with the drastic changes in the world. Even Iron Man, without the help of a team, would become an iron shrimp. Unfortunately, his daughter doesn't understand him. "Don't worry too much," Catwoman comforted. Bruce Wayne patted Catwoman's hand. "It's not that I want to worry, but this changing world forces me to. I can't keep up anymore. Another 5 years, at most 10 years. But so what? A generation of Batman is getting old, and it is destined to cause a splash. During this time, I want to train Helena and Damian well. They are the hope of the future." "I see." While Wayne was struggling, another tangled negotiation continued. Duke was lethargic. "What are they talking about?" "We are still discussing the fate of the Autobots. S-Shield is gone, replaced by the initial construction of the Avengers. John Keller, who participated in the first meeting and was the Secretary of Defense in Change 1, has resigned and been replaced by the newly appointed Secretary of State, Ross, who is Banner's former father-in-law. Last but not least is the leader of the Air Force, Charlotte Milling. It was a 5-party meeting. The Avengers were represented by Captain America and Peggy Carter, though it was Peggy Carter who actually dominated. After all, Captain America doesn't have much positive experience, and Peggy Carter is different. As for Duke, he was just an observer, but no one dared to ignore his opinion. The atmosphere at the big round table was quite awkward. "Okay, let me start the first sentence. This meeting is to discuss the problem of the Autobots. Everyone can express their opinions enthusiastically." After speaking, Ross sat down. "Captain?" Ross actually didn't want to get involved in this mess because he had to deal with Duke to send the Autobots away. After all, Duke kept the fire source, which was an unavoidable topic. Although it is completely possible not to give it, it would be inhumane. Of course, Autobots aren't strictly human either, but if they don't give it, the Autobots will definitely make trouble. And if they have to kill the Autobots, Duke cannot be avoided. Would Duke intervene? Moreover, even if the Autobots are really wiped out, so what? They can't get the source of fire seeds, which is of no benefit at all, and only fools would do it. Huh? Steve was a little taken aback. He didn't expect the ball to be in his court. End of this chapter. Chapter 300. Learning from the X-Men Model. Before Steve could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Charlotte Milling, who slapped the table. "First of all, I want to make my stance clear. I strongly oppose the Cybertronians staying on Earth. This includes both Autobots and Decepticons. Optimus Prime, you can't deny that this incident was caused by you, right?" In less than a month, Optimus Prime's body had been repaired. He no longer had the sharp, angular look from before and now resembled his image in Transformers 4. Although he had fewer edges and corners, he appeared much stronger. "I'm sorry. This time, I made a mistake due to my personal judgment," Optimus Prime said in a low voice. "It's good that you admit it," Charlotte Milling snorted. "I strongly recommend sending them away. The Earth is already full of disasters, and if we can avoid one more, we should." Optimus Prime shook his head. "The Earth still needs our strength." Charlotte Milling couldn't help but sneer. "You're still acting like a rascal. It's decided. You don't want to leave, do you?" Optimus Prime continued to shake his head. "I admit that there are many strong individuals on your Earth, like Mr. Duke, but your overall strength is still very weak." "Who is calling me?" Duke opened his sleepy eyes and glanced around. "Everyone." "It's okay. You can continue to sleep," Optimus Prime replied. "Oh," Duke mumbled before closing his eyes again. "Everyone again. If we are to stay, we need to change our partners. The Nest organization can no longer exist," Optimus Prime said. Hearing this, Charlotte Milling's eyes widened. "What do you mean? Are you despising us? It's good that we didn't doubt you. This time you chose to oppose your teacher, but who knows? Have you temporarily changed your mind? Maybe you are the same as your teacher." "Humans, please watch your words. Megatron is my teacher and one of the greatest leaders of Cybertron. Although he went the wrong way, his goal was to save Cybertron." Optimus Prime glared angrily at Charlotte Milling. "I admit I was wrong, but what about you? What's wrong with me?" Charlotte Milling was taken aback. Misjudgment and poor decision-making led to a mess in the initial battle. If Mr. Duke hadn't been prepared, you would have suffered much greater losses today. Optimus Prime snorted. You humans are suspicious of us and don't trust us. I can understand that, but I also want to change our partners. We can no longer cooperate with the military. Optimus Prime shook his head. Secretary of State Ross frowned. This was not a good sign. He also didn't want the Autobots to leave, as they were a valuable asset. Judging from the current analysis, Optimus Prime and the others were indeed deceived and unaware of it. After this dispute, the Nest organization would likely disband, but he didn't want the Autobots to leave the control of the United States. So, who do you want to work with? Ross asked, hoping it wasn't Duke. We Autobots can choose to cooperate with the Avengers, Optimus Prime said. Us? Captain America was slightly surprised. Ross frowned. No, the Avengers are still in the process of being formed. He didn't want the Autobots to get mixed up with the Avengers, especially with Peggy Carter being so tough. Moreover, today's Avengers were still a free organization, not under the military or the jurisdiction of the U.S. government. After the S.H.I.E.L.D. scandal, the newly established Avengers no longer trusted the U.S. administration, let alone the so-called Security Council. After promising certain conditions, they had to compromise. With the Hydra infiltration, including members like Senator Stern, they didn't have the confidence to demand anything. However, Ross still. Optimus Prime didn't think that the Avengers having too much freedom was a good thing, and he was looking for opportunities to challenge them. Now that the Autobots were going to cooperate with the Avengers, how could that work? Wouldn't it mean two powerful forces out of control? Optimus Prime waved his hand. We can wait for the formation of the Avengers to be successful. In the meantime, we can take it as a holiday. Of course, we can also continue to hunt down Decepticons everywhere. But there's one thing. We will not work with the U.S. military. You don't trust us, and we don't trust you either. Ross hesitated. In addition, I asked Mr. Duke to be a supervisor. I don't believe that you humans will keep us around after using us to get rid of the Decepticons on Earth, Optimus Prime said. Duke laughed inwardly. Isn't this the plot of Transformers: Age of Extinction? After the tragic Chicago War, although the Autobots successfully repelled the Decepticons' invasion, it also made the people of Earth lose their trust and respect for them. The Cemetery Wind Task Force, formed by the U.S. government, indiscriminately hunted all Cybertronian robots, causing both Autobots and Decepticons to disappear from Earth for a while. Meanwhile, human scientists driven by madness learned the secret of their transformation from Cybertronian remains, leading to the creation of artificial transformers. Galvatron, born from the remains of Megatron, was their proud creation and a harbinger of death. Duke didn't prevent the U.S. government from recovering Megatron's body because he wanted to see if Galvatron would appear. However, given the current trend, it seemed almost impossible. Ross shook his head and tapped the table lightly. Optimus Prime, it is impossible for you to break away from the control of the military. The United States will not allow you to break free from government oversight. If you insist on this, then I can only agree with Ms. Milling's suggestion. Please leave Earth. Charlotte Mealing immediately puffed out her chest. Duke opened his eyes again. Optimus Prime, let me ask you a question. Please, go ahead. Why do you Cybertronians insist on living on Earth? Does Mr. Duke want us to leave? No, don't get me wrong. It's just a question of doubt and curiosity. If the Cybertronians want a planet to live on, they can choose any planet they want. For example, Mars or the Moon. You've also lived on the Moon, right? Duke waved his hand. Duke wondered if a battle would break out among neighbors who also lived on the Moon, Inhumans and Transformers, one on the dark side and the other on the bright side. It was very strange. Optimus Prime shook his head. I'm sorry, I don't know about this. Perhaps it is due to ancient reasons? It's because of the plot, Duke thought to himself. Okay, you all have been arguing for a while, but haven't found a solution. Let me make a suggestion, Duke said. Ross, who didn't like dealing with Duke because he always had a point, responded, Go ahead. You can learn from the X-Men model. End of this chapter.